Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our next Agudah Live. We are live here in the Art Scroll Studios in Rahway, New Jersey. What a pleasure and schus to be here. My name is Avi Schnall, and I am joined once again by my co-host in person, Rabbi Shai Markowitz.
Thank you, Avi. It's the first time we're back together. It's been
It's unbelievable.
Together. I don't know the social distancing what we're allowed to talk about, but
We're good. We're okay.
I know you were tested for COVID. You're all good.
I am tested. I have antibodies. Baruch Hashem, you were tested. You have antibodies. We're safe. We're here, and Hashem will continue to protect us.
Amen. Amen. It's great to be back with you in studios, Art School Studios. They just built this beautiful place. It's going to really be nice, exciting, and we got a full night ahead of us.
We have a full night ahead of us. We have an exciting night ahead of us.
That's true.
A jam-packed program. And we, Baruch Hashem, I see already many people have logged in to watch. They have been seeing all day long.
Oh my God.
Videos, banners, WhatsApp statuses, tweets about this vital campaign for vital needs, for vital organization, vital signs, vital. And they want to hear a little bit more about what this campaign is all about, what Agudah Yisrael is all about, why this is so important, and obviously it truly is vital. And we're going to talk about that tonight. We're going to have a lot of guests, Agudah employees, Agudah volunteers, Agudah staff members, people that have been impacted from Agudah Yisrael, people that have directly felt the need for Agudah Yisrael today as much as ever. And some people always think about that. They refer to Agudah Yisrael as the Avad Hatzalah days after the war. People were, trying to get to America, but today we live in America. We do, and Baruch Hashem, but there's a lot that needs to happen. There's a lot that we're doing. There's a lot that we're accomplishing, and that continues to be needed from us. So Baruch Hashem.
I just want to we talk about that. The challenges and the mission statement that applied 50, 60, 70 years ago still applies today. It doesn't change just because of the year. It might have changed the people who are playing the parts, but the challenges that we have, the fighting for Yiddishkeit, the fighting for religious people in their workplace, in yeshivas, in living in davening, shuls, applies day in and day out, and not just because of COVID. We're not talking about just because of the new laws. I saw today that they put out new laws about rules about making weddings, right, in New York City. We're not talking about that. We're talking about even stam in your community, building shuls. There are places were closed down, places were prevented, and this is something we're fighting for every single day.
And throughout the day of this campaign, a lot of people were asking us, what's this campaign all about? There was a build-up. Last week already started doing the little teasers. The articles started going up on the different websites. And it was building momentum. And people were asking, what's this all about? What is this campaign all about? What's the Agudah really all about, And Baruch Hashem was an opportunity for us to tell people, this is what your Agudah Yisrael is about. Your grandfather had an Agudah Yisrael, your great-grandfather had an Agudah Yisrael, you have an Agudah Yisrael, and it's alive as much as it ever was. And here it gives us like an opportunity a little bit to talk about it to everybody. It's a tremendous opportunity, and Agudah Live has been running already for several years. In COVID, we did a lot of Agudah Lives.
9 different segments.
We had 9 segments straight. We had an audience of about, I think it was an average of 16,000 views a week. And but it was very interesting because then you're on the screen, and here I'm next to you. So we're going to see which way really works out better. That you have you on a screen from miles away from me, or next to me.
I'm happy to be here. We'll see what happens. I do want to just point out, so on the way here, when I got into art school today, so I was looking at different people's comments about the campaign, and one person asked me a question, or he posted a question publicly. He says, I live in a community out of town. He says, why is Agudah vital to me? And it was mamash hashgacha because just the day before, 2 days ago, I heard 2 different stories about people who we've helped in their religious life, but one of them who would think about Shmir Shabbos, getting a job, another person in an end-of-life issue in their community, out of town. The things that we fight for are not just New York and New Jersey.
No, absolutely not.
This is a national organization that has staff across the country, 7 different states. Rabbi Edi Matzin is covering the other states that we don't even have offices in. This is not local. New York and New Jersey might be 85% of our Jewish community.
Really?
Close to that, I think it's
85% of Klal Yisrael lives in New York and New Jersey.
Probably something like that.
Wow.
But the work we do, we have offices across the country that are not New York and New Jersey, and they're helping and setting the tone across the country.
Okay. And we're going to hear all about it tonight.
Yes.
We're going to be hearing all about that and about other things. And of course, we're here for a charity campaign. Ultimately, that's the goal for tonight, is to raise the funds to be able to continue this vital service. So I'll tell you a great comment that someone made to me. I reached out to a friend of mine, young guy, 27, 26 years old. That's young. And he started working, does make a lot of money. And I sent him a link to my page, charidy.com/agudah/NJ. We gave you a little plug just now. And
I want everyone to know it's very important that when you give the money, you give it to the pages that are important to you.
That's right.
Avi Schnall is going to raise money for
New Jersey page.
And therefore, don't just give to one page. You give Avi your $180, your $360, but don't forget, you have to give my page also.
Give me the 90%, and the 10% goes to Shai. But I reached out to this guy, and I told him at the Charidy campaign, we're having this campaign, whatever he's able to give. And he tells me something very insightful. He tells me, so Avi, this is the first opportunity I feel that I have that I can give something to Agudah Yisrael. You make a dinner, it costs a lot of money. I have to pay for an ad, I have to pay for a seat. My $100 for your dinner, I'll maybe get a line in the supplemental back page if I'm lucky. I won't even get a seat at the dinner. What's $100? Here I can give $100 and it's doubled. It's $200, and it actually went through. And I'm no different than anybody else. It's an opportunity for everybody that has ever felt they want to contribute, to feel part of the klal through Agudah Yisrael, to contribute and tipin mitzdarfen. We had a call, incredible call. We had a call with a few people before the campaign, and there was one person there from a yeshiva in New York, a high school, a small high school, and they raised several millions of dollars, and the average donation, I believe, was like $50.
Wow.
And they raised millions of dollars because every parent, every cousin, every relative, they all want to be mishtatev, they all want to be part of it. Everything comes together. So Baruch Hashem, we're in for a great night. The campaign is rocking, Baruch Hashem. We're already at almost the halfway mark, which is incredible at this hour to be where we are. And we're telling everybody, keep on going, go on the website, find your team, come back again. Find your team, and every bit counts. We don't realize the $18. Bernie Sanders, right, when he ran for president, his average donation was $27. Wow. I think it was $23. And he raised hundreds of millions of dollars from $27 donation.
Right.
Unbelievable. So this is what the charity is all about. This is what tonight's all about. Thank you all for joining. We're going to head now to a short video to hear about some of the work. This is where we're starting the process. We're starting the education right here. And we'll be back in just a few minutes.
That Agudah Yisrael and Torah are synonymous.
The screen's going to be small.
This is the purpose of Agudah Yisrael, to fight for the truth.
Okay, fine. But this happened issue is because
Our community is blessed with Askanim, people who care. There's only one place that actually has an address, and that's 42 Broadway, the Agudah Yisrael of America.
Allah Makarim Meru Amen.
Only someone like the Agudah could encompass so many worlds and make people feel so proud of what they do. They have Rabbanim that have shiurim, they have Rabbanim that take care of shilas, personal issues, legal issues, whatever we need, the Agudah is there for us.
He said over a shiloh, what happens if somebody...
They do this with tmimus, they do this with sincerity, only for the purpose of the success of other people, and they create the bridge that Rabbi Shara set up for all Klal Yisrael.
Agudah Yisrael truly serves as an umbrella organization.
Nothing stops them from doing whatever they can on behalf of Klal Yisrael.
Klal Yisrael needs an office. Klal Yisrael needs a front.
We need Agudah Yisrael to help us, to guide us.
We have to speak up when we see injustice, when we see something wrong.
And it's a real voice for us for the next 100 years. We're going to need it more and more.
It is not a question of getting involved with Agudah. Agudah is Klal Yisrael.
And let the primary purpose of your life be the purposes of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and of the Torah.
Well, that's what Agudah does. They stand up and speak up for all of us.
Accepted the award knowing and looking back at the greatness of Rabbi Shara, the tremendous work the Agudah does, and I couldn't disappoint my grandchildren, who are the great-grandchildren of Rabbi Shara.
Okay, welcome back. Welcome back. What a video. What a video. Incredible, impactful, incredible. And that was just a glimpse into what Agudah Yisrael does. For all those that joined in, my name is Avi Schnall, and I have the privilege of serving as the New Jersey director of the Agudah Yisrael. And Baruch Hashem, after many months, back in person with my co-host, Rabbi Shai Markowitz, and we are Baruch Hashem joined by the executive vice president of the Agudah Yisrael, Rabbi Chaim David Zubel. We have to behave ourselves, Shai.
Absolutely.
So whatever the jokes you wrote to before, we're going to put them on the side for right now.
For the next segment.
For the next segment, when Rabbi Zubel is in the other room and doesn't see it. But Baruch Hashem, we are at the halfway point, almost. We are really winding down to the halfway point of this vital charity campaign. And for all those that want to donate, that are watching, there's a little donate button. You just have to scroll with your mouse or your finger, whatever gadget you're looking at. It takes 20 seconds, and you can make a difference. Like we said before, every little bit counts. It adds up. Rabbi Zubel, here we are. Agudah Yisrael is probably approaching 100 years almost of its existence.
Indeed.
Indeed. Right?
Founded in Europe in 1912.
Which would be past 100 years.
Yeah. There you go.
108 years.
There you go. And here in America in 1922.
1912, that's 2 years, so 98 years.
98 years ago.
So over 98 years.
But I don't remember it.
I was about to ask you about, the first few years, how the struggle it was.
I don't recall.
But over 98 years, things have evolved. And not necessarily the Agudah Yisrael that was 98 years ago. Some may say it's a different world, it's different challenges. But Agudah is still here, which is a very unique thing.
Indeed.
Very unique thing.
And what's especially interesting is that America has changed, in particular, from what used to be considered a midbar, right? This was at the time everybody was speaking about how the Steiner in America is an treif. Right? You can't come to America, no matter what, because there's no real Jewish life over here, and there's no prospect for Jewish life over here. And then the world changed. The world turned upside down with Churban Europa, with the Holocaust. And many of the survivors came here, and they joined the people who were here already and who were building a brand new Klal Yisrael, rebuilding from ashes and recreating, once again, a beautiful Jewish world. And Agudah Yisrael has had, historically, such an essential role in making that transition and bringing the community back to the point where people were building yeshivas, and people were able to take off on Friday afternoons from their jobs and so on. And this took a hard work and needed organizational work to help build yeshivas, to help build our batim knesiyos, to help make sure that Jews had every opportunity that America had to offer them without discrimination because they were religiously observant. All of these things were essential to bring the Torah community in America to where it is today. And I think that when the great history of the Renaissance of the Torah life in the United States is written, a very chashuv chapter of that book will be entitled "The Role of Agudah Yisrael."
So the question is that was the past. Today, what is the vitalness in your day-to-day working in the Agudah that you feel Agudah plays, and the placement for the next generation of Klal Yisrael?
Well, again, without question, we are in a malchus shel chesed here in America, and that's certainly true. But at the same time, especially in recent years, we have seen an erosion of some of the things that we have taken for granted over here in America. Things are taking place in the streets of the United States which make us concerned. The rise of anti-Semitism is very great. Baruch Hashem, our communities have been growing, but as they have been growing, they have faced growing pains. They are encountering resistance from existing neighborhoods that don't want from people to move into those neighborhoods. They are denigrating the role of religion altogether in American life in many circles. And as a result of that, we have to be especially vigilant to make sure, especially today, right? People say that, well, the world is changing and therefore we no longer need the Agudah. Adarabba v'adarabba. Yes, it was essential in building America up to where it is today as a place where we can grow as a Jewish community. But at the same time, we see erosion in some of these things. And now it's time for us to stand up strong for our rights, to make sure that we take advantage of all the opportunities that the American system of law and advocacy afford to us. And that's where Agudah Yisrael plays such an essential role.
From your position as the executive vice president, you probably sit a little bit at the helm and you're able to see a global picture. And generationally, the old generation understood it much easier. And we have, Baruch Hashem, lots of people that are tuned in and that are watching. And they're all different ages. And I guess it's probably more of a younger age group that may be watching now. What's your message to them? We may not, it's always in a time of crisis, people react. That's just naturally how it goes. This summer, I told everybody that I met, you're gonna have the best summer ever this summer. Why? Because it was a mode of crisis. There was no camps, you had to find makeshift beds, bunk, it was wild. And probably many of them, and everyone that I've met that came home from camp, how was the summer? Amazing. Probably from their better summers, because in moments of crisis, people react. Today, Baruch Hashem, for many, many of us, we go to shul, we go to school, I was in Borough Park last week. I mean, every block is filled with shuls, kosher restaurants, whatever you need. It's unbelievable. It's all there. So what do we tell people? We need you. You really need me? I have everything I need. What's the message to those that don't feel the crisis? You feel it because you're in it. We may feel because we're in it, but for those that aren't in it, what do we tell them?
So they don't need to do a whole lot more than listen to the news and read the newspapers and see what's going on in the world around us, because what's going on in the world around us ought to be something that people care about. And I'd like to say something about young people. Young people are often accused of being apathetic. They don't really care. It doesn't bother them so much. They're wound up in their own lives. They don't care about the broader Klal Yisrael issues that come up from time to time. I want to say that I think that's absolutely false. My interaction with young people has been, I see that they do care about Klal Yisrael. They do want to make the world a better place. They retain their idealism. And that's why I think that our message, when it gets out properly into the public, because I'm so delighted that the two of you, Shai and Avi, are just amazing in bringing the message out to the public. Because I think when the young people hear the message, they understand, they appreciate. And therefore, I think, without question, that a new generation, which is asking the question, what is Agudas Yisrael and why is it relevant to me? It is as relevant today as it was when it was founded over 100 years ago in Europe. Today's challenges may be different than they were, but in order to succeed and protect our community, we need to come together under one umbrella, and to do so in a manner which enhances our strength when we appear before government officials. You know, when government officials speak to us, they say, tell us, how many members does your organization have? How many people affiliate with your organization? Why should I pay attention to you? And the answer is because each and every person out there in the community, by supporting Agudas Yisrael, enables us and strengthens us when we get before a congressional committee, for example, or we work with our state legislative people, and we press the case for things that are urgently important for our community, whether it's funding for our yeshivas, whether it's protecting our religious freedoms and rights, all of these things. If we can do so on behalf of a large community of people who vote, of people who can make a difference in these politicians' lives, then it enhances our ability tremendously. So my appeal to young people, my appeal to the entire community is join us, support us, let us show the world, give us the ability to show the world that we represent a large kehillah, a large and growing segment of their world that they need to pay attention to. And as I say, young people are the best people in the world who can help deliver that message.
So when you talk about young people, I wanted to first of all introduce and make sure we understand that we're talking about young people. Obviously, we're talking about, Avi mentioned camp and there's teenagers, but really we're talking about the next generation of Klal Yisrael. And we have with us now, first of all, as part of a board member of the Agudah, but also with us now in the studio, Yoli Edelstein, who is a board member of the Agudah and has taken, I think, this concept and felt it and believed in it. And Yoli, I want to hear, maybe if you don't mind, your thoughts on this point about the value someone of your age, someone of our age brings, and the vitalness that's needed, that we have to take a role, a really substantive role in the challenges that Chaim David mentioned.
Right. So Rabbi Zibel was discussing how far we've come in America. And when you think about it, this, idea of where we are doesn't happen overnight, right? It takes time to get developed, and it takes time for it to process through people's mind and create an image of what Yiddishkeit is and what we've become in America. If you look in Europe, Yiddishkeit is very different. They don't have the same exposure, the same eye in the public eye as we do here and enjoy in America. And a lot of that takes time to develop, and a lot of that is planting little seeds here and there. A lot of that comes from talking conversations, and it's at high levels. It's with the media. It's building simple blocks where ultimately we get a different image in the eye of the world than we have in other places. And essentially, to me, that's what the Agudah does. It's that body that looks out for our best interest. It's that body that paints the picture of what Yiddishkeit really is to the world. And obviously, we as young people get to enjoy a lot of freedoms because of it and a lot of the good stuff. But that's something that has to be constantly maintained and it has to be kept up. And the Agudah's job, representing us, has always been to keep painting that picture and keep building that image of what people think of us. I mean, just last week at the Republican National Convention, President Trump had it on his platform, this big idea of school choice.
That's right.
School choice is something that the Agudah fermented and started planting seeds how many decades ago?
Many.
Yeah, and now it became this big idea that they're talking about nationally, and only once it gets built up, and that's one small example of gets built up, and people start talking about it, and they hear about it from the president on the national stage, and then slowly but surely it trickles down all over and becomes the new norm, right? And that's something that the Agudah had a seat at the table, was at the forefront. They designed the idea, and they ran with it with the ultimate purpose of down the road, in a decade, 2 decades from now, right, it'll become the new norm, and it'll help us as Yidden, right? That took foresight, that took planning, that took having a vision, and that's one small aspect of what the Agudah does for Yiddishkeit. And to me, it's fascinating because I hear President Trump say it, and it's something that Agudah has been fighting for. And that's a success story that obviously we haven't seen anything implemented yet, but like I said, these ideas ferment, they take time over time, and to see, some hatzlacha with it.
And if I can jump in for just a moment, in fact, we have seen success in a number of states across the country.
Definitely.
Our National Director for State Relations, Rabbi Adi Motzen, is one of the leading authorities in the United States on school choice. And if he was sitting here, and maybe he will be sitting here a little bit later,
sitting here very shortly.
Could probably list.
Don't steal his thunder.
List the dozens of states where school choice programs have been enacted.
And that's just a small example of the dozens and dozens of ideas about us that help us, that have to get promulgated throughout the United States.
You're saying a great point. You're saying an amazing thing, which is so important for everyone to hear. We're not about this organization. Some organizations are instant gratification. This organization is not about that. The things that happen will go as the course of the night goes. We're going to have Abba Kona talk about Washington, his 30 years of projects that he accomplished, took a decade's worth of work. And today yeshivas are getting tens of millions of crazy numbers because of things that I've heard people talk about that he pulled off. And you mentioned it takes patience, it takes resilience, it takes vision.
Consistency. Yeah.
You know what else it takes? It takes Balabatim, board members like yourself, like the members of the Board of Trustees, like all of the members of Klal Yisrael to support our efforts.
Well,
and
that's honestly, for someone like me, someone my age, right? We're busy with our day-to-day lives. We're busy with supporting our families, taking care of our kids, our families. We don't have the time, the bandwidth to deal with these big ideas that take time to develop, and also, we're not experienced in it. That's why we have a body, headed by Matzis and guiding exactly how these decisions should be made in terms of creating this picture. I mean, would you be comfortable in Europe walking around with a yarmulke on your head?
Sure.
I mean, we could have been in the same spot in America, and things can change. You see how culture, how things even in this day and age can change overnight. We're not trying to scare people, but the idea
the
of
guy in my ear is yelling at me.
Definitely.
And it's hurting me. So I have to continue, because if I don't continue, he's going to continue to yell at me.
Yeah.
Because we have a long program tonight, Baruch Hashem. And I think that the message that was given in this segment alone, we can close the shop.
There you go.
And that's it. We're good to go. Because it really is critical and so important of every point that was said. Thank you so much for coming on. And of course, remember, we have a charity campaign. We need to continue these vital services. And we need all of your support. Charidy.com/Agudah. And here we go to our next video.
Could you imagine a girl always complains she has no friends, feels so unpopular? And what about a girl who comes from a very difficult family situation at home? And what about a behavioral student that's fighting with the friends in her class, that's arguing with her teacher, and is generally sent out to the principal only 5 times a day? And an older girl takes her out once a week to spend time with her. This girl is craving for is a little attention. And what Bnos One-on-One offers this girl is that love. Bnos One-on-One is the brainchild of Agudah Yisrael of America. Agudah Yisrael of America funds it, supervises it, identifies the mentors, partners them with the girls in partnership with the schools. One can never know the far-reaching implications of this mentorship, this friendship, this attention, and this love. Agudah Yisrael is at the heart of this program because Agudah Yisrael is all heart.
I should look at them or look at the camera?
Look at them, but your body position is towards
Okay, we are back. We're actually not back. We've always been here, but we're back in the studio, focused on us. And what an incredible segment, Rabbi Zubel and Yoeli. You hear about it. We hear it all the time, but for people to have the opportunity to be able to hear that is absolutely incredible. We are again live in the Art Scroll Center here in Rahway, New Jersey, and we are joined by Rabbi Agudah Zlotowitz.
Thank you for having me. Welcome. We're happy to
That's
host
right. You should be welcoming
me. For us, it's an honor to host an Agudah event. My father Zatzal was glowing. If you would see what's going on.
He is glowing.
He is glowing.
Sure is.
But, I'll explain to why. One of the things that we wanted to bring you on the show for is because we just had a segment. We just showed a video about Agudah's work in youth, Pirchei and Benos, and it's an amazing thing that. The impact and the breadth of Pirchei, whether it's Sima Shas type of work, or whether it's on the Shabbos programs, and my kids, even in Brooklyn, have their own Pirchei, and there's in Pseik, there's in Montreal, they have Siyam Mishnayos, there's so much going on. And also in the Torah world, the work of Torah projects, besides Daf Yomi, is expanding Limud Torah across the country. And there's no question about it that the partnership with Art Scroll has benefited the Agudah in else helping us do this, and also growing and helping Klal Yisrael learn. Masmidi Asiyim, we had this thing, even class code just now. Art Scroll was a tremendous partner in the prizes. Everyone got, the kids who pointed, most of the gift certificates were through the Art Scroll family. People were able to buy, whether it was Kiddush Shulchan Aruch, they were able to buy books of anything they wanted within the Torah framework. And bringing you onto the show is a real, it's part of the family. It's not someone else. And your work and your working together has really benefited us and Klal Yisrael.
Well, I was going to say the same thing. I think everyone knows that the Agudah Art Scroll connection goes back before Art Scroll. When my father was in Kiermont, together with Josh Silverman, Zatzal, and my father wrote for Tzirei all the years and was very involved with Pirchei and Tzirei Agudas Yisrael. And the bond is just really an eternal bond. What Agudah does for Limud Torah, what Art Scroll does for Limud Torah, we all really have the same goal. I remember Shmuel Yosef Reader before the Siyam HaShas, and I heard from Shlomi Werdiger many times, that the Siyam HaShas is not about the event that night.
That's right.
It's all about what's going to happen the next day. And I think if you judge it based on that, it's been a smashing success. There's so much learning going on in the world. Between Daf Yomi, we're seeing how many Gemaras, the English Gemaras, the Hebrew Gemaras, Eruvin is going as strong as Shabbos was. It's unheard of.
Really? Same sales?
Same sales. If anything, it's more.
That's incredible.
It used to be Ba Shabbos, Ba Menucha. Here it doesn't happen, right?
And so much of it is because of the programs that are going on. Kihem Chayenu.
They continue.
The way Shlomi Yehuda, the way Ralph is pushing those kids to learn through the programs is exactly what he is so proud of, and that's what his dream was. And it's really happening. We see that it's happening. The videos, the Daf HaShavua, all the wonderful things that are going on. I encourage you, obviously, to support Agudas Yisrael of America. We don't know what they're doing. They're doing so much. But what we do know is the Limud Torah, the cause of the explosion of Limud Torah, is clearly because of what's going on and what went on during the Daf Yomi Siyam HaShas.
You should know the next day after the Siyam HaShas, I walked into my shul, and we had a small Daf Yomi, small group. I come in the next day, there were like 25 guys. Now the guy that gives the Daf Yomi, he's not a Rebbe, he's not a professional Maggid, he's a Balabas, a Chashva Balabas. So we came like the joke, we call him Rebbe now because he has a whole shir. But I said, now you got to start preparing, you got 25 guys. And today, they have 25 guys. It's an incredible thing.
And it's keep on going.
And it keeps on going.
It's
so you see it from the sales. I see a little shul, somewhere at the end of Lakewood.
It's all over the world.
It's unbelievable what's going on.
It's incredible.
And it's across, and it's so many programs in Klal Yisrael of commitment of daily learning. It's Oiraisa, it's Daf HaShavua. There's an Amud Yomi that has a Chazar program on Shabbos.
Kinyan Torah.
The Chazar program, we all know. There's so much out there, and it's growing, expanding, and when you look at it, and you probably see it much better because of the numbers, it's amazing to see, especially now during COVID. There was a concern. Things were going to drop off. You know what? There was everyone got on phone calls, Zoom calls.
Nothing dropped off.
Right.
If anything, to Klal Yisrael's credit, they had extra time. The Rebbeinu Shalom gave them extra time, and they're using it to learn. It's incredible.
Rabbi Agudah, thank you so much for joining us on this
Always
program.
Always invited here.
Thank you for hosting the event.
Thank you.
I feel like a shtickle chsan also because now you're in New Jersey.
Oh, that's
Because
right.
Artsco finally realized,
We
after all the
finally
years,
found
that New Jersey's the place to be.
Are you going to bring him down to Lakewood?
Listen, Rahway is Rahway.
We're happy where we are.
It's okay. But thank you very, very
Thank
much.
you
Thank you
so
for hosting
much.
us. You should have continued
Hatzlacha.
Hatzlacha and Siyata D'Shmai. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we.
La 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 la, Agudah Achas. La 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 la, Agudah Yisroel. La 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 la, la 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 la, Agudah Achas. La 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 la, Agudah Yisroel. Everyone needs a little help. Everyone's got a time of need, and our history repeats itself with one way to succeed. All the odds that we're up against, there's no doubt we can overcome. There's no trouble that we cannot face if we all stand as one. From Alaska to the plains of Texas, all across the east and the west, there's a single address, a connection that binds every Jew. Joining together, stronger than ever, part of an Agudah Echad. You're as vital to us as we are to you. Agudah Yisrael is part of every single Jew. La 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 la, la 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 la. Agudah Achas. La 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 la, Agudah Yisroel. La 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 la, la 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 la, Agudah Achas. La 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 la, Agudah Yisroel. For the young and the elderly, for the scholars and the businessmen, for the mostest and the families, we speak for all of them. In the dark and unsettled days, the Agudah will bear a torch, spreading Torah that will light the way and create a mighty force. From Alaska to the plains of Texas, all across the east and the west, there's a single address, a connection that binds every Jew. Joining together, we're strong as ever, part of an Agudah Echad. You're as vital to us as we are to you. It was just a man who had a vision, oh, following his heart with a love for every Jew. Now we're gonna keep alive the mission, oh, doing our part, the Agudah, me and you. Sing! La 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 la, la 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 la, Agudah Achas. La 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 la, Agudah Yisroel. La 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 la, la 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 la, Agudah Achas. La 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 la, Agudah Yisroel. Agudah Achas. Agudah Yisroel. Agudah Yisroel.
And we are back. I always keep on saying that we are back, but we're still here. We are back, and we continue to be here in the studio. And Baruch Hashem, I see the numbers are coming in. We are about to break 50%, $2.5 million. You know, $2.5 million to go. Charidy.org/Agudah. If you're from New Jersey /NJ, I got to throw that in there. But we just heard an incredible song, an incredible Hatziger song that really gives the message of what Agudah Yisrael was, how it was built, and what it is today, from plane to plane. I'm not going to give you an attempt to sing it. That's not my talent. That would be, by the way, great, television, as they say, but great radio.
I would donate a little bit to see that.
But maybe a few minutes, from playing. Okay, but that I have to go home tonight, But it was a great song. It really was a great song. Great song. Thank you, Yitzi Waldner, and welcome to the studio. And Baruch Hashem, I could say that I've been davening in the Charidy Beis Medrash for about 12 years.
Yep.
And whenever I come, I have like a little hope that is this week, Rabbi Yisrael get down for the Ummah. So you're someone that has taka the heart. Some people know how to sing, and some put the hearts into the niggin. And this song had the hearts.
Well, first of all, I'd like to start off by thanking Agudah. It's such a huge honor to be asked by Agudah. I mean, Agudah, amazing. It's like Exxon. Agudah is a massive name, and there's so much history in that name. To be asked by Agudah to be involved in a song, to promote the organization. So to be here tonight is really a tremendous honor. Thank you to Agudah, thank you to everyone. Thank you to Naftali Miller. We've worked on several projects in the past, and once again, Baruch Hashem, a lot of Siyat D'Shmaya went into...
that's for sure.
From the moment they struck the match on the idea to fruition.
Which wasn't so long ago. This was a
No,
very quick
no.
paced progress, which is the way you probably know, this is the way Naftali works. He doesn't give you a lot of planning time.
We don't give out all the secrets.
This line, actually, I think this is the earliest we've ever...
really?
Pushed it. We pushed it a bit.
I got a call 2 weeks ago from one of our closest friends. Naftali reached out to our part producer of the song and producer in many other things that I do, Chil Shron, who was behind the scenes as always, always keeping it.
That's how he does it.
Feed the Shrons, yeah. And he reached out to me on Erev Shabbos, I think it was like 2.5 weeks ago, and he said, Yitzi, we're thinking of doing a song. Naftali reached out to me to do a song for Agudah. What do you think? I said, okay, like everything else, how much time we have? We have 2 weeks.
No, it was a little bit less than that, because you wanted to do the video also.
I said, well, the video came later. That idea came later. I said, 2 weeks to discuss it, 2 weeks to talk about it.
Yeah.
No, 2 weeks to be out. They're doing a fundraiser and we need to be out within 2 weeks. I said, we don't have a song yet. I said, okay, see you on Sunday.
I remember the idea came up when we were talking, Naftali, myself, and Nechem Yahach. I was driving to Cleveland for Bar Mitzvah, and we had a flat tire, we had a little bit extra time to talk. And this is the amount on Erev Shabbos.
Erev Shabbos. You call him and he called me 20 minutes later.
Yeah. This whole thing, 2 weeks.
2 weeks. And
start to finish. Music, video, composing the song, the words of the song.
Yes.
The whole kit and caboodle.
I could tell you, in being in the music business for a long time,
wow.
It's almost an impossible feat to do, especially an English song. But when you have Siyat D'Shmaya first and foremost, and Rebbeinu Shalom wants, and then, obviously everything falls into place.
So I will tell you, from not a music professional, the song sounds good.
Thank you.
The song sounds good.
So Yitzi is being very modest in how he's saying. But when Yechiel reached out to him, so he sat down and he started working on the tune. He's back and forth, and he came out with a beautiful tune. And then we reached out to Miriam Israel together. We had a conference call, right. And you saw through the call his input in trying to come up with the best message. But I think why did Yechiel reach out to Yitzi? And what we were trying to accomplish over here by the song, we're trying to bring Achdus, that everybody together is one nation. There can't be one person that stands out stronger than the other person. This was a beautiful way of this song coming together, that no one was looking for the credit, no one was looking for the recognition. Everybody was looking to try to produce the best piece for Agudah Yisrael.
I have one question on the song.
Yes.
Where's Alaska?
But you didn't know.
That's my I know where it is.
We have an office.
But
in
like,
Alaska.
we have an office in Alaska. I mean, come other Jews in Alaska.
I can guarantee you've helped Jews in Alaska.
I'm sure we have. If they're Jews, we've helped them.
There's no question.
But that was my only question on the
After this campaign, I'm thinking of moving there.
Moving to Alaska.
Disappear. My wife said, Siyam Shas, then this campaign. Like maybe take it a little slow.
It was extremely special for me because I remember watching the previous Yom HaShas, and for some reason I didn't go. I don't remember what it was, and I remember looking and saying, I had such chorta not going. I said, Bez Hashem, we should all be healthy. I'm going to be at the next one. And Baruch Hashem, we were Messiah, and we had the chus to be there. So when Yechiel called me and said that you want to do a song for Agudah, the weight that carried for me was just incredible.
Wow.
And I was, God.
I wasn't talking about the song itself. We talk about composing the song, there's writing the lyrics, there's singing it, and then at the end of the day, we also produced a music video, which that was...
Right, so that actually came in out of nowhere, with really almost a week left of the project, which we were still actually in the middle of production of the song, and Yechiel said, okay, they want to do a music video. And I said, what? I mean, what else, a parade is next? Like, what do you want to do? What's next? How much can you pull over? These are things that are impossible. Moshe Finkelstein, who's behind the glass over here, what an incredible job, really under tremendous amount of pressure.
Yes.
This is not something that generally happens in 2 weeks' notice. Just the discussion of what kind of song we're going to do takes 3 weeks. And then there's 1,000 different versions. Anybody who's in the music business out there knows how long this usually takes. To go from turning on the piano, or turning on the keyboard into music video finished is...
When we're talking to Miriam Israel and she was writing the words, she said, "I need a few days to." I said, "You don't have a few days."
No.
She goes, "But I need a few days until it hits me." That night, she sent us the words.
Yeah,
incredible. It was.
When Chil called me on Friday, he said, "Listen, try to think of something." I said, "No." Chil Kedar Kenu B'Kodesh, you're going to come down, and when he sits there, there's a different energy in the room. And he has a siyata d'shmai that he brings, and we tried a couple different ideas, and we got you on the phone. And I said, could we do something that maybe is a little bit of a younger sound to freshen the idea here?
It was.
It was
really beautiful.
There was one note on there that I think was really very powerful. It talks about one vision of one person. I think that is such a powerful message in the song that it says in every generation, every time, there was always one person that powered the Agudah to go forward. You talk about the Chofetz Chaim that had the vision of starting it, and then you talk about Mike Tress and Ray Sher and Ray Rosenblum and the different people that and then today's time. Then you have Rabbi Zubel, and then you have Shlomi Werdiger, and you have different people that are, and now there's new people that are getting involved in the Agudah. There's always a person that took responsibility for the klal, and that's really what I think that we were trying to get over, that message that there's always a person that steps up and says, I want to be there for the klal.
I'm going to just say one thing on that note about one person. We need everyone to step up tonight, not one person. Yes. We need it all.
Yes. and that's really the essence that Agudah Achas, we are all vital for.
I want to tell you Agudah Achas. I had a bet with somebody before I came on, and how long is it going to take till we get Agudah Achas said? And about Zubel beat you to it. I said it's going to take within the first hour, and I was right, so I won.
Yes.
Not a lot of money, but I won. But we got it in already, by the way.
But it is important to understand that we're talking about the value of each individual joining together.
That's right.
It's not, you can't have an organization that's funded, that's run by the 5 people on the top. It's not, and as Klal Yisrael goes, we need every individual to take a certain level of responsibility up to their level, what they have in their pocket, what they're able to give, what they're able to commit to, either a one-time, an annual, a monthly basis. Every single person coming together under a banner, giving allows us to protect and advocate and strengthen Klal Yisrael across the country, New York, New Jersey, Florida, Illinois.
From Alaska to the plains of Texas, right? That was the line. Rav Tully with that, tell me in the ears, we got to keep it rolling because we have a packed schedule tonight, and there's so much more we can talk about.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for this Herculean effort in pulling this off. Obviously, this made your 2 weeks probably pretty crazy.
A little bit.
So for your family, we ask Mechila, and we thank your wife and children that to deal with it, and it's very much appreciated.
Thank you.
And you should see continued siyata d'shmai. This should lead to many more projects.
I was thinking as I was parking, I said, how do we bring it to the parsha? This week's parsha is Vashki Savai. Bikurim. What's Bikurim? We show our Kars HaTayv to Rebbeinu Shalom. We bring our Kars HaTayv. We bring in,
Excellent. Very good.
So everybody knows the name Agudah. Everyone has been affected by Agudah some way or another, whether they know about it or don't know about it. And show our Kars HaTayv.
Thank you very much. From Yitzi Warner himself, show our Kars HaTayv. Thank you very much. We'll be right back after this short, brief video. And stay tuned.
Throughout our history, our religious liberties have been compromised. In the 1970s, Jewish employees would regularly be fired for taking off work on Yom Tov. As a result of much advocacy, the New York government passed a law protecting the rights of Jewish workers. Today, religious rights are still under siege.
Agudah has long stood at the forefront of the battle for religious liberties, for everything that we hold sacred to ourselves and our people.
When I was Rav in Minneapolis, a young child, 3 months old, was nifta. In the state of Minnesota, there's a mandate that you must do an autopsy in any sit's death. Chaim David and his legal team not only prevented the autopsy, but b'siyata d'shmaya, they changed the state law, but were able to take their child to Kvura intact, all because of the Agudah.
Post-World War II, the rebirth of Torah was a primary need for our community. Agudas Yisrael Torah projects have overseen a massive revolution of Torah study.
The Agudah helped to create the atmosphere that made it possible. Pirchei groups, Tzirei groups, Benos groups, Camp Agudah, learning programs. All of this was a major factor in helping the Torah world to reconstitute itself. When I was in Beis Medrash Elyon, we didn't know what Daf Yomi was. I had never heard of Daf Yomi. When you stop to think about it, these are amazing accomplishments. Amazing accomplishments. And could it have happened without the Agudah pushing Daf Yomi and organizing shiurim and making siyumim on Masechtas and encouraging people to learn? The lion's share of the credit has to go to the Agudah. Hands down.
The education of our youth is the foundation of our community, but the burden of private schooling weighs heavily on our families. In the 1970s, through Agudah advocacy, textbook funding was no longer a violation of the separation of church and state, providing the beginning of much-needed relief.
The Agudah has spent generations fighting for our students in our yeshivas, whether in the old country and here in America. Right here in Baltimore, we're fortunate to have Rabbi Yoel Sadwin, who's a visionary. Rabbi Sadwin has helped get us over $1 million to help our underprivileged kids go to yeshiva through Maryland's BOST program.
If there's any major issue that we have in yeshiva, we turn immediately to Agudah, and they're there 24/7 to help us out. And the fact that we know that they're there for us changes our entire perspective.
Our children are literally our future. Under the direst of circumstances, Camp Agudah opened its doors in 1942, leading to hundreds of children attending Jewish day schools. A mission continued to this day.
When you go to yeshiva, you're learning mitzvahs. When you go to camp, especially Camp Agudah, you're living mitzvahs. You saw people that were so dedicated to teaching the youth to continue the legacy of Agudah. And they always spoke about Agudas Yisrael. They always spoke about the Moetzes. They always had Gedolim coming. You know, from the top down. This is a legacy of generations.
Our tradition is what kept our nation and keeps our nation alive. And protecting that tradition is critical. The Agudah has been at the forefront of staunchly protecting the integrity of authentic Torah true Yiddishkeit.
In America, there's one label. That label is Agudas Yisrael. Till today, you go to any town, is an Agudah, you know what it stands for.
The success of the Agudah on a national level really is an example of how a group of individuals empowered by Yitzibor are able to accomplish so much on a national level.
Though times change, history has a way of repeating itself. From sending food packages in 1941 to Jews in ghettos, to the Hatzalah efforts of the war years, Iranian rescue, to helping those in crisis today with Parnassa and disaster relief, the Agudah has been and continues to be at the forefront of the ever-evolving needs of the Klal.
Out in Lakewood, we're really fortunate that Agudah has PCS, Professional Career Services. They have provided jobs for thousands are from families. They provide education in finance and business for many thousands of graduates of Beis Medrash Gevaya, and are a mainstay not only in what we think of as activism, but in the core issues of supporting our families.
Challenges may change, the nature of the uniforms of our enemies or the language may differ, but the basic challenges from without, of hatred, of anti-Semitism, of bigotry, and those from within, of divisiveness, of assimilation, of acculturation, have remained the same. And Agudah continues to be at the forefront, needs to be at the forefront, to influence what goes on in our country and elsewhere, to be a voice of morality and a voice of principle to elected officials at every level, and to continue to address the unique needs of our community.
I really can't conceive Klal Yisrael being where it's at, the Geshem of the Ruach, without Agudah Yisrael, without their advocacy and their concern and their influence, guiding Klal Yisrael to do the Ratzon Hashem.
Together we did. Together we do. Together we will.
And as we continue the night, what a packed night we have tonight. We're only getting started, unbelievable. And of course, everyone that just tuned in, we are live here in Rahway, New Jersey, in the Art Scroll headquarters. Charity campaign, charity.com/Agudah. If you're from New Jersey, charity.com/Agudah/NJ. I gotta give the plug, Shai, I'm sorry. But we are, Baruch Hashem, really, we're right at that halfway point. 2.5 million collected, another 2.5 million to go to be able to continue our vital services. And we continue the night, and we're joined by our next guest. It's an honor and privilege to have Mr. Eric Stern.
Thank you for having me.
From the Stern
Law
Group, Stern Law Group.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Eric Stern has been, when I first came on to the Agudah Lefkowitz Leadership Initiative that was started by the Lefkowitz family, the idea was let's talk to the young people, let's get them involved, let them be engaged, and let's hear from them the challenges that they have. And Eric from the 5 towns, and we spoke to Yoli earlier, and Nechem Yahach, these were part of the group that I met originally. And really, Eric, I learned, was a part of the Agudah family for years before that already. He'll tell us a little bit, but it's amazing to see how you have individuals who have skills, who have talent, and who have professions that they're able to then come back and help the Agudah, help Klal Yisrael through the Agudah. We've consistently turned to Eric for questions on religious issues, religious rights issues in the workplace, in life in general. And as we were, in the past few weeks, as we were discussing the work of Agudah, we heard some amazing stories, amazing impact that happens in this division. You think, what, lawyers there, right? I don't even know what this is, an amicus brief? No. There's day-to-day, real-life issues that the Agudah staff, we have 5 lawyers on staff, plus we have a group of volunteer lawyers who invest time, effort, and therefore they do so much, and Eric is one example of that.
And I just want to give, before Eric continues, I just want to say one story. It was during COVID. Well, COVID's still going on. But it was at the beginning of COVID, right in the middle of it. And the government put out all these new stuff, unemployment and family leave. And it was just this big bulk of confusion. And we didn't know what to do. And myself and Shlomo Soroka from Chicago reached out to Mr. Stern and said, "Can we get on a phone call?" We had a phone call with Shlomo Soroka, myself, the administrator of Yeshiva Katana of Long Island, a great guy.
Rabbi Ari Ginian.
Yes. Great guy. And Mr. Stern. And you were wearing your suit and tie. I remember that. I was like, wow.
It was for,
Eric always wearing a suit and tie.
And you gave us, I was
give calm to the family.
What was more impressive of the suit and tie was the fact that we're sitting there. It was chaotic. It was really in the height, so to speak, of Corona. And these new laws came out. There was total confusion. And you gave It was like 3 hours, I think you were on the phone.
Well, I appreciate it because I know that that was the only 3-hour slot you had in the 24 hours that you guys were working. I mean, you guys were really, you had your own kids and your own families to deal with, and I thought that was the Agudah and the Agudah staff and really came out stronger in the COVID crisis. So it was great. And I was happy to help.
I wanted you to tell me a little bit about your experience in working. Give me an example of a case or a story where you were like blown away by, wow, this is a case I have to get involved in, I have to work on.
Well, when I first got involved with Agudah Yisrael, I had no idea that they had that they did any of these types of cases, that they had a constituent services. Who would know about them? And it started off as a Shabbos accommodation memo.
Oh, yes, Eric, I think they're telling me in my ears that we're not getting the volume for those that are watching. No volume.
Sorry.
No,
we're going to go to a video. No, it's all of us. We're going to go to a video. They're going to fix the mics. We'll be right back.
All right.
So shoot over to the video. Okay.
Somebody that doesn't have any children, the impact that it makes not only on the couple that doesn't have the child, but it affects whole families, affects the whole surroundings. And Baruch Hashem, we have helped close to 50,000 families over the last 27 years. As IVF was becoming more of a norm, we figured out that the amount of funds that we would need if we were the sole people doing it would be an impossible amount to raise. We, together with the Agudah, started up lobbying in Albany that the law should be changed so that insurance should cover infertility. And Agudah was our connection, getting us involved and bringing us down to speak to the senators, to speak to the assembly, to speak to the speaker, in order to not only put the medical side on display, but the emotional side. This bill was a breakthrough to be able to reach out to other people, to be able to help them. Everybody knows when they have a problem to reach out to the Agudah. The problem is the Hamoinam doesn't really understand the role of the Agudah, because they usually solve the problem before the problem becomes a major problem, when they're really behind the scenes and circumventing a lot of problems that would have been if they weren't around. Somebody that doesn't have any children, the impact that it makes not only on the couple that doesn't have the child, but it affects whole families, affects the whole surroundings. And Baruch Hashem, we have helped close to 50,000 families over the last 27 years. As IVF was becoming more of a norm, we figured out that the amount of funds that we would need if we were the sole people doing it would be an impossible amount to raise. We, together with the Agudah, started up lobbying in Albany that the law should be changed so that insurance should cover infertility. And the Agudah was our connection, getting us involved and bringing us down to speak to the senators, to speak to the assembly, to speak to the speaker, in order to not only put the medical side on display, but the emotional side. This bill was a breakthrough to be able to reach out to other people, to be able to help them. Everybody knows when they have a problem to reach out to the Agudah. The problem is the Hamoinam doesn't really understand the role of the Agudah, because they usually solve the problem before the problem becomes a major problem, when they're really behind the scenes and circumventing a lot of problems that would have been if they weren't around.
Okay, so we are back, and everything is fixed. Siyata d'shmaya, that's what it comes down to.
I took care. They called me from Agudah. They told me to take care of all the electrical. I got to work.
You're like a Renaissance man. Legal problems, technical
whatever they
problems,
need,
whatever you need, a one-stop
whatever
shop. But Eric, really, there's a lot of people watching us. Not to intimidate you, but there's a lot of people watching, and we've heard from Rabbi Zubel a little bit of his point of view of what Agudah Yisrael is. We heard from Yeli Edelstein as a board member, a guy involved in schools in the Five-Town, his perspective. The guy Zlatan spoke about the relationship of art school and Agudah Yisrael, Torah projects, all the different facets. From your standpoint, as someone that's in the legal world, that has been connected and close with Agudah Yisrael for so many years, what's your outlook, so to speak, at this organization?
Tell you, I am an employment litigator. I represent mostly employees and employers in situations. So the calls that I get from Agudah Yisrael usually regarding Shabbos, religious accommodations. But there are 20 of me, 30 of me throughout the New York and throughout the United States that do right-to-life cases, zoning cases, domestic abuse cases, and they handle all types of situations. In fact, one of the most interesting things that happened, it was probably 13 years ago. I got a call on Friday afternoon that there was a woman that was on life support, and one of her children, some of her children were religious, other children were not religious, and the non-religious children wanted to pull the plug on her life support system. And this was about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, which was about 2.5 hours to Shabbos. I was on my way home. And I got a call from Rabbi Zubel that the Moetzes, or who give the Heterim, said that they needed a lawyer to go down to a court to get a injunction to stop the pulling of the plug, and that he told me that, and I said, well, it's 2.5 hours. He goes, I understand. He says that there is a heter to be Machal Shabbos because it's a direct case of Pekuach Nefesh.
Wow.
And I was a young lawyer. I was not the first call. This is not in my wheelhouse, but I was one of the lawyers on call, as if I was in Hatzalah. They did have somebody. There are lawyers like Maish Kurzman from Muncie, who specialized in these right-to-life cases. He thank God he was available to pick up the phone. And he must have taken a case. But I never thought in my wildest dreams that as a lawyer I'd be Machal Shabbos to write a brief. And it was I'm not sure if I would have been able to bill for that, but a whole different shaila. But it was one of those interesting cases. I mean, I've also helped people that weren't even Jewish, that other religions that have the same types of interests that we have. That made some news a couple years ago. A woman who's a Seventh-day Adventist only wears skirts, and she was fired from the MTA.
I remember that story.
Rabbi Avi Shafran found her, and it was like the only case I've ever solicited. He said that this would be a really big Kiddush Hashem to help her, and we actually helped her. We filed a lawsuit. We took on her case. They tried to dismiss the case. It was denied the dismissal, and we settled it for a modification of her uniform. Wow. She wore a skirt. 3 years later, by the way, I was crossing Broadway near FINRA, and I was at a green light, and a MTA bus honks me, and it was her driving the bus with her skirt, and it was a landmark case for
that means in 10 years from now, if you have some girl that wants to become whatever,
they want to wear a uniform for a job that doesn't really have a safety issue with the uniform. This was a landmark case for that. So it was
incredible.
So really a lot of work there, a lot of good work that we do behind the scenes that came through Agudah Yisrael.
Eric, I want to tell you what's incredible about, so to speak, this story, this segment that we're talking about. You have a guy, Mr. Stern, successful lawyer, big practice, and talented, obviously, in the field of law work, if that's the right terminology.
Works.
And yet you're able to use your talents in a way to make a Kiddush Hashem.
I have an achrayus in it. Look. If I'm able to get, I told this to Chaim David a couple of days ago. If somebody's calling Agudah Yisrael, we're not their first call. They call their brother, they call their father, they speak to their spouse, they speak to their friends in shul. They speak to people who can help. When they're calling me, I know that I'm the last straw. Maybe you should call Agudah Yisrael. I'm the last straw. And you know what? And the lawyers that are on the staff that work like me, they're not like legal aid lawyers who aren't busy. They are the top of the legal field who are the most busy people you've ever encountered, and they are available to help. They are smart, and there's no b'diavad. It's a l'chachila cause. They take on the case. They'll do everything they can to work the case. And there's a lot of the first case I ever did for Agudah Yisrael was a woman who wanted to be accommodated for Friday night. She worked on Shabbos, But Friday night was her religion. She went to shul on Friday night. She didn't keep, and we helped her. And she came through Agudah Yisrael, and that was Rabbi Zibel was the general counsel at the time, and he's 2003. So I've seen some incredible stuff behind the scenes, and it's just. It's
Eric,
amazing.
thank you very much for joining
Thank
us.
you.
I think that the people that are watching this have been inspired just from the segment alone.
It is a very important cause. It is a real need in this.
So I'm saying the inspiration not only on the cause, which of course they should give to, at charidy.com/Agudah. I'm talking about Eric Stern, the inspiration that you give to people. That a guy has a talent, be able to use your talent to be Marbik Kavod Shemayim. And everyone, whether you're a lawyer, whatever your field is, whatever your talent is, some people are good at writing. You know, people that call me up, they're good at writing. They know how to write very well. They're good writers. And I say, you know what? So write op-eds, write articles for papers, write for the Star Ledger, write for here, write for there. Get the word out because you can do it. You're good at it. Any talent people have, there's a way to channel it.
You have an obligation to give back to people who need help. Everybody, and in my experience, and I still think I'm young. In my experience, I've experienced nobody is not in need of anything. Nobody is not in need. Everybody, the lawyers that are on the panel, I've gone to them for things that I've needed, and they've come to me for things that they've needed. And it's really an incredible and very comforting thought to know that there are people out there that are willing to help, they're waiting to help.
Eric, thank you so much for joining us.
You.
To all listening, incredible inspiration from Mr. Stern from the Stern Law Group.
Yes. Thank you.
And I have to make sure to give that plug over here.
And just like Eric invests his time and effort, I think we're turning to everyone who's not a lawyer to invest their money, giving it to the Agudah. We're having this campaign. It's important. Whatever you're able to at each of your own level. This is what we're here for. Charidy.com/Agudah, or if you want to give to Avi, it's /New Jersey. But this is what we're doing.
Charidy.com/Agudah/New Jersey, not /New Jersey.
I can tell you that I know that the money that Agudah raises is not enough. Their resources are plentiful, and they need these funds to help drive advocacy, to drive help for the people, and to reach out to those who are really in need. And it really goes to good use.
Thank you very much, Eric. Thank you for joining us, and we will be back as we continue a full program still ahead of us.
Yeah.
Wow, it was very.
Wow, the kids just made the bus this morning. 5 more seconds and they would have missed it. But I gotta say, it's amazing that they have this service.
I know, could you imagine doing carpool? It would be a nightmare. I would never make it to work on time.
Yeah, but I have no idea how they pay for it. I mean, as it is, they struggle to pay their rebbeim and teachers. Huh, why does the Agudah need my membership?
Agudah Yisrael just doesn't stop at getting buses for the Meisters. It's there to make sure no child left behind and every child can get the services that they deserve.
The parents throughout our community, often without realizing it, benefit from the efforts of the Agudah.
We don't even know what they're doing behind the scenes.
Yes, sir. I did receive my certification. I believe I could be a great asset to your firm. I look forward to meeting you as well. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Most people, after yeshiva, after kollel, go out and try to earn a living. They're faced with these challenges every day, and it's becoming harder and harder.
I'm very grateful to Agudah Yisrael of America for creating programs such as COPE and PCS, which allowed me to transition from my kollel years to the business workforce without having to sacrifice my frumkeit. And they also provide me with the ability to earn a parnasa.
Yes, I do appreciate you giving me a job, but If I could come out, I would, but the Jewish holidays, it's not a vacation. I know. Oh, okay.
What happened?
I could lose my job because of the Yom Tovim.
Wait, I may know who can help.
We get calls weekly from people in school that are having exams scheduled on Shabbos and Yontif. Regular calls from people who have employment issues where their boss is not letting them go home early on a Friday. We passed legislation in this area, and we generally advocate, and successfully.
The constituents that call Agudas Yisrael, they're not necessarily Agudists. They're just Jews with jobs, with Shabbos issues, with religious issues.
A political leader wants to see a community that's engaged in the issues, and we are. They open their doors to us, and that's extraordinarily important in Washington.
But Ta, if the shul has the word Orthodox in its name, doesn't that mean that they're from? Why can't we go to their simcha?
This is exactly why we need our Gedolim, Misty.
The Agudah has become and has been since its inception the address where people can turn to find out what is true Das Torah.
It's very, very important to us that through Agudas Yisrael of America, we have access to Gedolim who understand the out-of-town situation, who have familiarity, who have experience. To be able to get that clarity from them is very vital to our continued growth.
If there wouldn't be a Moeses Gedolei HaTorah, someone would have to invent it. Because how else should decisions be made for the Jewish people? Only by people who have spent their lives devoting themselves to the truths of Torah. Only these people can be trusted to make decisions for the Jewish people.
Chaim, I have great news. You're going to be able to go to the Cheder this year.
Having a child with special needs is a tremendous challenge, but knowing that there are people out there, there are organizations out there who for nothing in return are fighting for you and fighting for your child is a tremendous source of chizuk to us and really makes us feel like we're not dealing with this on our own, that our challenge is the community's challenge and that we're in this together.
Without that Agudah, we'd be fighting a losing battle.
Project Learn has enabled Yiddish children of all stripes get the funding they deserve.
We have leaders who are very friendly with the kids, and the kids are very relaxed, and they give over to them Torah in a way that's like, with sugarcoating, so to speak, and that's very enjoyable for them, and then they remember that. I know there's many boys who have become very big masminim as a result of Pirchei programs.
Whatever I have in terms of ability to lead, to organize, a lot of that came from my training as a Pirchei leader.
There's a tremendously powerful movement in this country, and also I think in the whole world, to impose this value of quality of life is the most important thing, and when quality of life is not there, to end it. So I think it's incredibly important to have an organization that's working on preserving the right to life, really. It's really a right for people to live longer, which is being taken away now.
Daf Yomi was dormant. It was here learning, there learning. The Agudah gave it the injection that it needed to become a household word. Every Yiddish household knows about Daf Yomi.
Being able to attend the Siyum Shas, it was incapable of putting into words what we all experienced there. Bringing some of those ideas here came as a direct result of the inspiration that I felt the night of the Siyum.
We are back in the studio. For those that just logged in, my name is Avi Schnall. I have the privilege to serve as the New Jersey director for the Agudah Yisrael of America, and joined in person, Baruch Hashem, after this whole hiatus of a break that we had with my co-host, Rabbi Markowitz. Thank you for staying with us through it all. 9 weeks we had Agudah Live, and it was incredible. And now we're back in person, and we are, Baruch Hashem, here in Rahway, New Jersey, in the Art Scroll headquarters, our host, and we are joined by the chairman of the board, Mr. Werdiger. Shlomi Werdiger. And the son, Yisuli Werdiger. Thank you both for joining us. Today's a big day. Today's a hot day. Baruch Hashem, we're doing quite well. I see the numbers. We are literally, I see the number. We are literally right below the 50%, 2.5 million. And Baruch Hashem, throughout the night, you see the bottom of the screen for those that are watching, the numbers keep on coming in. So Bli Ayin Hara, for all those that are watching, that have seen till now, we had Mr. Stern on. What an incredible segment, and Rabbi Zubel and others. We have a whole night ahead of us. You see the impact and what Agudah Yisrael is really all about. Charidy.com/Agudah. Charidy.com/Agudah. Every dollar counts. And whatever you give is doubled. And keep on going. Keep on. You gave already. Send it to your friends. Send it to your neighbors. Send it to your sisters, to your brothers, to your parents. Klal Yisrael needs this day. So, Mr. Werdiger, here we are. The vital campaign.
Okay.
And a lot of people ask, what's Agudah? Where's Agudah? All the questions that we constantly hear so many times. From your position as the chairman.
So, listen, Baruch Hashem, I think the one thing that we accomplished, Corona is an epidemic, and it was a pandemic, and a lot of Yidden suffered. But I think the one thing that came out of it throughout the whole ordeal was, I think that Klal Yisrael in general, first of all, we all came together. It was a tremendous, I said it at one of the meetings that we had, I think the Rebbeinu Shalom should just end this pandemic just for all the chesed and all the unbelievable achdus in Klal Yisrael that happened during this whole pandemic. The Rebbeinu Shalom should just look at that and say, maybe that's what he wanted. He wanted there should be achdus in Klal Yisrael. But the one thing that came out of this is that I think everybody, there's not a single person that doesn't appreciate what the Agudah did during this period of time. I said it's one of my proudest moments that I had, that I was zoicha. In the beginning, you guys know because you were on it, the first 4 months, I think, right? We had a Zoom call every single morning. Myself, Chaim David, the staff in New York, and all of the regional directors. And I'm telling you, I write down things that, momentous occasions that happen. So this has to be one of the most, to watch every single day, the dedication of the regional directors. But what we accomplished, forget about the dedication, the fact that we put in work. Sometimes you can put in a lot of work, and but we accomplished that thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of people, moistis, yeshivas, individuals that came and used the services of Agudah Yisrael. We directed them through this most horrific times, and what Agudah Yisrael was able to accomplish, there isn't a single person out there now that doesn't realize. We always, Rabbi Sherry, one of the big kindness I always had was, I always told Chaim David, we always didn't want to toot our horn. Agudah Yisrael was built on the Gedolei Yisrael, the Meyatzis Gedolei Yisrael, and they said, go at and accomplish what you need to accomplish. You don't have to toot your horn. You don't have to make, a big pump about it. But, I screamed all the time. We live in a different age today. Look at you guys, the young guys. The live streams and the podcasts. I recently did. I can't believe it. They're from all over the world. Guys are calling me 10,000. We couldn't. Rabbi Shera couldn't reach 10,000 people. In 10 years, you reach them in one podcast today. So it's a different world today. And today, the young kids and the Hamoinam has to understand the chivas of the Agudah. That's why we're doing this. They have to understand how important it is, especially in this crazy time that we're living in today. And we see what's happening in New York, and we see the jeopardy that we have. I said it over, I think, on my podcast. I said, everybody thought we have permanent resident cards in the United States. We no longer have permanent resident cards. Our resident cards were temporary. They always were temporary, and they're still temporary. And it's very fragile. And a Frum Yid has to understand that. A Frum Yid has to understand that we have to make a Kiddush Hashem every single day, that anything that somebody else does, nobody reads about it. We do it, and it's all over the papers, it's all everywhere. But Agudah Yisrael, we work and toil in state capitals, in city halls, and in Washington. Erlich, honest, never a scandal. We toil for Klal Yisrael in the most erlich possible way, but guidance of the Gedolei Yisrael. So I think that the Hamoinam, it's about time within this campaign. Yes, of course we need the money. Of course we need the money. We're gonna be. I'm afraid that
that in the next foreseeable future, we're going to be in court every day on behalf of the moistus, on behalf of the yeshivas, on behalf of the shuls, on behalf of individuals, religious freedoms, special needs kids, making sure that we get our share. Abba Cohen is working tirelessly. I think I listened on the way here in the car, and somebody said to me, why weren't you all that successful up until now, bringing the younger kids in the Agudah? And I'm going to tell you this. I'm sure when I started off in the Agudah, Moshe Sherritt was my mentor. And I said this, I used to spend Yom Tovim with him in Eretz Yisrael. He used to come down in Ger. I used to pick him up from Malona Merkaz. We used to walk. We spent hours and hours over Yom Tov. And he said to me, Shlomi, if you want to get involved in the Agudah Yisrael, you have to understand one thing. Today, the young kids, my son, everybody there's more chesed, there's a gemach for anything you could possibly imagine. The minute Chas v'Sholom there's some tragedy in Lakewood, my other son Shmuley tells me in 2 days they're already married. The kid is 2 years old. They already put away money to marry off the kid. The chesed that's being done today is immeasurable. But everybody wants to see. Somebody said before, instantaneous gratification. Yep. You want to know you did something. There's a fund. There's a bank account. Boy, you gave money. 14 more kids were born. Moshe Sherritt told me, Shlomi, Agudah Yisrael, the work you're going to be doing is a long-term seeding project. You meet one senator, you meet one governor. You don't know this guy is an assistant tomorrow. He's going to be the lieutenant governor. Then he's going to be the governor. Then he's going to be the mayor. Then he's going to be a senator in Washington. It's a process. The young kids don't have patience today. They don't have geduld. They don't have patience to do this. It takes years of work. Somebody said before, Abba Cohen and Chaim David. Years of relationships that finally come to fruition. And sometimes they may never come to fruition. Sometimes you don't. But Agudah Yisrael is behind the scenes working. There isn't a single. This program, what gave me the most nachas was I keep on getting in my emails. Every single yeshiva sent out to their parent body. Every time I meet, and they know, the parents maybe don't know, but the principals and the administrators of the yeshivas know. They stop me all the time. They said, Reb Shlomo, do you know we couldn't have made payroll last week without the money, the check that came in through the efforts of Agudah Yisrael. Our kid couldn't have gone to yeshiva if Avi didn't do that work in there, or Moshe Matz in his place, or Shlomo Zorko. Everybody, it's finally, I think maybe people are home more. I don't think they're not working, they're not as busy, and maybe they finally have a little more time to go online and follow what the Agudah is doing. Maybe that's what it was. Everybody's so fanumin with their lives, they don't have a time to appreciate and understand what the Agudah does. So Rabbi Say, I'm asking you, I'm imploring on you, we Baruch Hashem now, we are bringing, who are we working for? Baruch Hashem, all of my children, are married. My other son-in-law is sitting right over here, Rami Schoenfeld. All my kids are married. I'm marrying off to Einikelach. We're doing this. All of you have skin in the game. All of you young chevra, it's your children that we're trying to help. It's your lives and what's going to be happening in New York and what's going to be happening in New Jersey. It's your communities that we're fighting for in Chestnut Ridge and in Toms River and in Jackson and in New City and in all the. What are we doing it for? We're doing it for the next generation to make sure that we benefit just like every other citizen of the United States. We benefit in a frum way for our next generation, for our kinderlich, for our einiglach. So thank you for joining us. And please, it's so vitally important that you support us and financially, and not just financially. Financially, of course, is important, but also to understand the chshivas of what the Agudah does for you and become part of this Agudah Achas for the future.
Thank you. But Shlomo, I want to tell you also, Shuli is right here with you. Right. And I know that we've discussed, the kinds of, there's big organizations, there's small organizations. Shuli himself also has taken a leadership role in community things locally in Flatbush. One of them, I know there's a camp fund. And Shuli, what's your vision of you see, getting involved in local things, but then you're having your father as a mentor saying, hey, look, we got to think bigger. How do you see that playing out globally? There's, like your father pointed, there's differences in that. How do you see that playing out, and where do you see the future of our generation, our age, getting involved in the bigger picture things, which are don't have instant gratification, but are big?
First of all, I thought you were a little older than me all the time, so just saying our age, I guess I'm equally as old. But firstly, thank you for having me here. I am Zeicha to have a father who is on the global stage, which allows me the time to do things for the local. But I think, like my father said, in today's day and age, more than ever, it's apparent of why we need the Agudah and why we need all the local stuff to feed from the efforts of the Agudah.
And speaking of that, there was a program, I think, Flatbush Fund, to work together. We worked on a program, and we ran a national program giving out money before Pesach because of COVID, because people were losing their jobs, and we were able to work with 30 different states locally, from Flatbush to New York, from all the way to the West Coast, all because there was a global thing, you want to call it Agudah, who helped raise the money, and then we couldn't give out money to individuals. We worked with the local, it was a network, working with the locals.
The working together, the Architects, listen, there's many good organizations that do work. And today, even in the day of Rabbi Shera, he was pretty much a yochid that did all these things. Today, Baruch Hashem, the Olam is so big. We have 155,000 kids in yeshiva just in the New York area. How many more in New Jersey? Yes. And so there's so many Hasidus in and everybody, but at the end of the day, and I'm going to tell this to everybody, at the end of the day, we value whatever everybody does. But take a look at the camp situation. The camp situation was a classic example. We were on the Zoom calls every day. Who was on the call? It was Camp Monk, Camp Agudah, Satma, Pupa, Bells, Bobiv, Chabad. There wasn't a single camp. We had 42,000 kids represented on these Zoom calls, and they all realized one thing. If we want to speak with one voice, if we want to speak with a real koyach, it's through the efforts of Agudah Yisrael. They all realize that. They may not give us credit, and we don't care about the credit. We want the money. We want the money, but not the credit. We'll let somebody else take the credit. But that's what it is. And sometimes it takes a situation like we've been going through right now to realize that at the end of the day, the credibility that we have, and you know that, Avi, what you accomplished in New Jersey, and I hear it all the time, and so Swili's here. I also have my son Shmuley, who works with you, Avi, very closely in New Jersey. The older people of my generation have a chiyuv to instill in their children not just an achrayas for your community, for your shul, for the yeshivas where your student go, but also for Klal Yisrael. And that's what I keep on saying. There's an achrayas for what you have to be machshiv, the rebbe that teaches your kid, or the morah that teaches your daughters, or the rav that's in your shul, but you also have to find something, an achrayas for Klal Yisrael on a global picture. And that's very, very important. And I think that's what this is all about, to let people know what the Agudah does, to get them excited about it. We're bringing more and more younger people, younger is relative. We're bringing more and more younger people onto our board now, with Mirz Hashem. And because, as I said, all the work that we're doing for you. We're doing for you, for the next generation. So, go ahead.
Baruch Hashem. I think that one of the best parts of this whole charity campaign is that it gives us this opportunity. 100%. It gives us this opportunity. A guy, I said this before, but not everyone's been watching since 8:30. Some people may have logged off, some people came on later. Most are glued to the camera, by the way. But in case a guy came on later, because no, a guy came on, once you're on, you're on. You're hooked. That's it. But a guy that may have come on later, they may have missed this line.
That's just only as long as I'm here. When I get off, I'm not sure, Avi, if they really want to continue to watch.
Well, that's we're holding you here. Then tell me in my ear how much time we have left. We're going. We're going. Sully here for the long haul.
Is there refreshments?
But I'll tell you, a guy made a comment to me. About 2 days ago. I reached out to somebody, a friend of mine, young guy, 26, 27 years old, just started to go to work. We're having a charity campaign. They gave him the whole spiel. Great. He said, this is an opportunity that a guy like him has, that he can contribute and feel like he gave part of something. A dinner, it costs money. This, it costs money. Things are expensive. This, and everyone's part of it. The guy's giving 36, the guy's giving 18, the guy's giving 100, the guy's giving 5,000. And you look at the list of the donors, that's one of the cool things about charity. You get to see all the donations, which...
That's great. And I think before I go, I want to be Machayev you guys. I want to be Machayev both of you. Now that you have this momentum going, that you have all the next generation understanding the vital force that the Agudah really is, understanding our work, keep them informed.
Absolutely.
I think what's really important for me now and for the older generation is that now we'll have thousands and thousands of people who are part of this campaign. Keep them informed. Let them know what we're doing. make them part of what the Agudah is doing. And I think if they're part of it, they're going to understand it. They'll be machshav it, not financially, but not just financially. They'll be machshav it to pass the Masorah on for the next generation. That Agudah Yisrael Tak, Agudah Achas, and that Mit Hashem, that's what's going to keep the hemshach of the Agudah, of the Doiris, of everything, all the work that I put in so many years. It'll be my greatest pleasure and nachas in life to see that it continues even bigger and better. The younger guys today have grander ideas. I'm being honest with you. We have a certain amount of sagas. I always said that one thing that Moshe Sher always taught me. You have naskonis. You have to have big hasagas. I always say that at every meeting. I said that's how we went from Felt Forum to the Madison Square Garden to MetLife Stadium. Everything when it comes to Klal Yisrael, it comes to avoid this HaKodesh of Klal Yisrael, you have to have big hasagas. So the younger guys, they have big hasagas. They have bigger hasagas than we have. So I'm hoping that we can instill in them that the fact that what the Agudah does, and they'll come up with bigger ideas, better ideas of how to make it even bigger and greater than it is right now.
Okay, Shai, you got a job to take care of.
Thank you, Avi.
I'll manage the project, he'll do it. We got it.
Isn't that how the whole Agudah life thing also works?
Okay, I think my time is up. I'm assuming.
Mr. Werger, thank you very much for joining us. Thank
pleasure.
you for the chizik.
Thank you,
Suli, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And we're going to go now to another quick video, and we will be back. We will continue. Remember, charidy.com/Agudah. And before we continue the video, important announcement. We have hit the 50% goal.
Okay, Baruch Hashem, and if you gave as part of the first 50%, you could give again for the next 50%.
Chazar is a good thing.
Absolutely. And you're not going to get somebody where they give their information. We're not going to give you double, triple emails. We'll, that's the worst. We'll take care of that. Keep on giving. Send around 50% here. Baruch Hashem, we're not even halfway through the hours of the campaign. We got another many hours left. Thank you, Klal Yisrael. Thank you all those that are listening, that have contributed. Those that have not yet, now's the time to do it. And we will be back.
Thank you.
And we are back. I have to stop saying we are back because we keep on being in the same place. But we continue the show. By the way,
that's what it is.
By the way, before we introduce our next segment and our next special guests, I just want to say one thing. There's another bet going on. We had two bets. We had one bet in how long will it take till Agudah Achas is said it, and now the bet is how many times will Agudah Achas be said. I said 25. And I have a friend of mine who's keeping tabs.
More or less.
We're at like 12 so far. No, we have it the whole night.
Well, if we sing the song,
we're not singing
we can sing the song and Agudah Achas is in it.
We had a chance to sing Yitzhi Wulner song. We didn't do that. I'm not singing. I have to go home tonight. But I have to be let back into my house tonight. But we're at 12, by the way. So we have 13 more Agudah Achases to be said. Chaskel, you cannot say Agudah Achas. But we are now being joined live in the studio here in Rahway, New Jersey, in New Jersey, my hometown, and with two, what's the word? There's a word, veteran. I hate the word veteran, by the way. But veteran Askanim.
Makes you sound old.
That's what I'm saying. I hate it. I don't like it, but it's like a chashiv title.
It's okay when you talk about other people.
So if
that.
I'm called veteran, that means I'm old, and I'm not old. And if I don't get called veteran, I go, why am I not veteran Askanim?
If we're veterans, then the guys you had before are ancient.
Are ancient, that's for sure. But
we're going to have to cut that for him when he sees that, okay?
But for this segment, really on a serious note, because we're a little bit more serious. On a serious note, we are joined by two people that have made an impact in Klal Yisrael that Klal Yisrael will never understand. And I don't think they'll understand it till 120 in the Ginzim Roimim. Hashem will show them what kind of impact they had in so many areas. Rabbi Chaskel Bennett and Rabbi Yerucham Silber, who have been living a life of Askanas for decades. Welcome.
Thank you for having us in
To
New
the
Jersey.
show.
In New Jersey.
Listen, we let you in.
What a pleasure. New Jersey, in Rahway, New Jersey.
Chasel's getting past New York. He's moving out.
Actually, I'm coming back to my roots. I went to
Well,
Yeshiva in
Chaskel
New
said
Jersey.
today, we did another show today. Chaskel said people think that Agudah doesn't go beyond the Verrazano Bridge. So we just
That's it, we want to bring it just past.
even over the Gothels Bridge, Agudah goes.
I have my eye on New Jersey all the time, Aviv. So New Jersey is very special to me.
Chassel, at the end of the day, I know that you both have been very involved in Askanas in many different ways for Klal Yisrael. But Chassel, yours has been primarily first of all, as a volunteer, as part of the board of Agudah, and has also been focused heavily on government work for Klal Yisrael through the Agudah. So I wanted to ask you, what has been your experience in the changes? This is my real question, the changes now that we have to be concerned about coming up in the future, that we have to be ready for. What do you see happening in all these changes? And I'm not talking about just because of any of the riots that are going on. What have you been seeing over the past 18 months, 2 years, changing in our relationship with our government, Klal Yisrael's understanding of religion, and what do we have to do about that?
So it's an excellent question, and I appreciate the sentiment of the question. So we have to go in two different ways. Number one, this is a family-oriented show, and I don't want to scare anybody at home, but at the same time, truth is the truth. And so I know everybody's enjoying themselves, and I hope that the viewers are enjoying tonight's program. But it's sort of a reality check. People should really know what's going on, and it's tough. We're living in a very tough time. It's no secret, and we have to really figure out a way to bring Agudah Yisrael, and we are figuring out a way to bring Agudah Yisrael into the next step of where the world is going. Yerucham and I have been talking about this. We've been talking about this with the leadership of Agudah Yisrael. The political landscape has been changing. Avi knows this in New Jersey. It's not a secret. Turn on your radio, listening to the polarized, partisan, hyper-partisan world that we're living in. That affects Klal Yisrael in very significant ways. Politically, Klal Yisrael has to position itself as being a bipartisan, certainly Agudah Yisrael, a bipartisan organization. But the fact remains is that if there are people out there who are looking to change our way of life, looking to impact our ability to live life in America as Torah Yidden, we have to confront that. Somebody has to confront that. Agudah Yisrael has a mandate to be the representative of Klal Yisrael to the world, to the secular world, to the political world on behalf of Gedolei Yisrael, to confront the issues that are impacting, affecting, and chas v'shalom, attempting to change our Messiah. If you want to wake me up at 2 o'clock in the morning and say, what is the job, the mandate of Agudah Yisrael? Why is Chaskel Bennett and Yerucham Silber and you and Avi, why are we giving our lives to this chashuv of Meister, this organization, the mama of all organizations in America, Agudah Yisrael? What's so chashuv about it? What's so chashuv about it? We are the front line, defenders of Messiah Yisrael. That is who and what Agudah Yisrael was built for. It was built for that in Katowice. It was built for that in America. This is what Rav Moshe Scherer and Mike Tress gave over to the next generation. Avi's chashuv grandfather, who was a right-hand man of Rav Moshe Scherer, Salechi Glick, Zchayin Levracha, and all the Askanim that came before us. What was their job? So during the 1960s and 1970s, we'll give you a chance to speak in a minute, Yerucham. Discrimination.
Preach on.
Shabbos observance. A Yid would get fired. My grandfather got fired for going to work on Shabbos. Baruch Hashem, that fight has been fought, and that fight has been won. Rabbi Scherer, with the pen of Nelson Rockefeller, won that fight on behalf of Torah Eden. So there's other discrimination today. You don't want to take a test in dental school because it's being put on Shabbos. SAT tests, LSATs, Shabbos, Yontif. The list goes on and on. Who is defending Klal Yisrael? It's Agudah Yisrael.
You know, people don't realize how we take it for granted today. Like Haskell mentioned, the tests on Shabbos, not getting fired. But there are other challenges today. Kaparis. Kaparis
right.
every year. A day at Kaparis is a challenge, and we fought them in court. Now there's a new tactic. The anti-Kaparis advocates, these enemies of Kaparis, have now found a new tactic. They've used coronavirus as an excuse.
I saw today there were posters hanging
Yes,
all over
here
New York.
they come. Here they go. Why? Because where the coronavirus started? In a wet market in China. Oh, Kaparis is like another wet market. Let's ban Kaparis. Get around the thing, and now they'll go to a court and say, yes, the court said it's legal, but come on, religious practice, it's public safety. And we've seen over the last 6 months how public safety has unfortunately overridden religious camps. Camps was a religious practice, public safety. We couldn't open shuls. So they'll go back and say, look, Kaparis is a public safety. It's causing a new virus. The new center, the new Wuhan, China will be in Brooklyn. They're saying the
Borough Park.
Yeah, Borough Park. That's what we're up against. Things like that. And they don't give up.
Oh, it's an incredible thing. A guy, this right now in the campaign. It's in the campaign. We're hot. Everyone's cooking about it. Wherever you go, every website, every status,
That
every
means we're
shul.
doing our job.
We're doing our job. And Baruch Hashem, we hit the 50% mark.
Okay, Baruch Hashem, we're not there yet.
But now keep it going.
Keep it going.
Keep it going. Charidy.com/Agudah.
Yeah.
And keep it coming. Every penny counts. But a guy came up, in the hack, one of my team members, he says, people called him up and said, what do I need Agudah for? What does Agudah do? And there's one of my board members, I got to give him a wave. Thank you, Mr. Gross, we love you. And a guy came and asked me, and he said, you're still here. And he said, what's Agudah doing this and that? Guy from New York, that's the whole voice of what? I said, I want to ask you a question. Did you forget a year ago your child is going to be have secular studies for 8 hours a day, and then do Limudei Kodesh, and then come home at 10 o'clock at night, your 7th grader? Did you forget? Did you realize that battle is still being fought today? Totally off the radar, because there's so many things about, you're talking about Kaparis. There's yeshiva's education, there's Kaparis, there's the myriad of stuff that, when I told it to the person, you're right. People forget about all the ability they have to continue to live. Unfortunately, we always say, Lakewood, we always say this, we should one year let busing flop 1 year. We just shouldn't have it, so people would appreciate all the work that goes on.
It's going on now. Busing now in New York is up in the air because until they do the contracts, I hear from mothers going crazy. I got a carpool. I got to pass our buses.
Yeah.
And there's a fear of there may not be buses. I mean, I hope there will be. They'll work
Shout
this out.
there will be buses.
Both in New York and New Jersey.
I think we need to confront a very important question in the world. As insiders, people who work and live and breathe for Agudah Yisrael, people continuously ask. I'm spending many, many years, as you said, Shai, volunteering for this organization.
On a full-time basis.
Baruch Hashem. I'm proud of anything.
For many, many more years to come.
To do it. People ask me, what does Agudah Yisrael do? Somebody asked me this morning, sent me a message. What does Agudah Yisrael do for me? Guy, and he's a friend, someone who likes me, appreciates me, and enjoys the work that I do. It's machshavit. I said to him, I'm insulted. He says, why are you insulted? I said, you know me for a long time. I'm a fairly reasonably intelligent person. I have not spent the last 20 years of my life wasting my time being on a treadmill doing nothing. We are involved in so many different issues, shuls, right now during Corona, making sure that they are open, making sure that the police department was doing its job. I don't want to get into the difficulties of when we just started opening up shuls in New York City. The day that the governor allowed shuls, we were on the phone literally around the clock, preventing certain things from happening so that the shuls could open in a responsible and safe way. Yeshivas, advocacy, the list goes on. And sometimes when you're involved, and so involved, you almost lose sight of the fact that people are not involved, they don't know what you're doing. I'm asking Klal Yisrael to recognize that Agudas Yisrael has been there and continues to be there for you and your mishpacha. Again, Agudas Yisrael is the frontline defender to defend and to protect and to advocate for our Torah way of life. It's not the electric company. The electricity doesn't just run because it runs. Somebody has to fund that. We're living in a very difficult time, time of turmoil, financial turmoil. If the Agudah is doing something unprecedented and they're bringing this message to the public and saying, Ma'irav Rabbaisai, we need help. Ma'irav Rabbaisai, it's your Agudas Yisrael that you want to strengthen now and for the future. We have battles, Avi, that we're going to wage. We need lawyers. We need advocates. We need staff. We need to be as strong as the enemies are, or even stronger than they are, so that we can protect and fight for what we believe in. That's what we're here for.
Here in a nutshell, there's a famous line, I believe it's said by Congresswoman Shirley Chisholm. The line is, if you don't have a seat at the table, you're probably on the menu.
On the menu, yeah, we say that all the time. That's how.
And at Agudas Yisrael, Baruch Hashem, we make sure we have a seat at the table, so we're not on the menu.
That's right. It's a lot of preventive stuff, which is hard to put into numbers. You can't put into numbers, but at the end of the day, like you look at what's going on, maybe this scenario is giving a glimpse to the cloud, to the tzibur, that there's problems. There really are problems. It's not so settled. It's not so simple.
I also want to point out that this is something that over the past, since I've gotten involved, which was right before the last Sima Shas, the organization has grown in ways because of the needs of Klal Yisrael. We've hired more lawyers, more staff, in every single way, on not only in New York, not only in New Jersey. Avi, you came on after I came on. Across the country, it's because these challenges.
Yes, you remind me all the time that you were here before me, and I'm a lower senior. You're more senior than I am.
He's more veteran than you.
More veteran than me. I understand. That means you're going to retire before me. That's just reminding me.
Okay, right.
I just want to give you a 30-second story. It was the first time that I saw real Askanas at work. A story that never made the press, a story that never made any publicity, that I witnessed in front of my eyes. There's a very respected liberal assembly member up in Albany who had a plan. He's a respected person. We don't agree with him on a lot, but he's very respectful towards religion. And he wanted to do something. He wanted to do a mandatory organ donation. He wanted to put into law that instead of you having to check off your license, a person's license, that they want to be an organ donor, he wanted to do it in complete reverse.
Default.
Everyone is a organ donor unless you check off that you're not an organ donor. Okay? And that's what this assembly member proposed. He's a very bright, articulate person, but he's also very sensitive. And I remember this was one of my first missions to Albany going back many years ago. We sat in the room, and I remember Mordechai Beiser, our attorney, made a very legally, lawyerly presentation on religious rights and how this would violate our constitutional rights. And he did it in such a sensitive way, and I could see the assembly member who really meant well, because he really meant this for L'Taivas the world. And he says, I understand. I'd like your help in redrafting it with religious protections so that your community is protected.
Wow.
And an issue that never came to the light of day, nobody ever saw it, but Agudas Yisrael prevented a dramatic and tremendously painful fight for Rahman al-Itzlan, a motor vehicle accident patient who gets brought in and organs are being harvested without anyone's consent. That 12 o'clock at night court battle prevented. That lawyer fight prevented. That heartache, that misery prevented. Why? Because Agudas Yisrael was in the room to prevent it. 20 years before it would come to light of day.
At the
that
table.
Is the work of Agudas Yisrael.
At the table.
Yeruchim, you just told me a similar story. We're not going to get into the details of the story, but this is not just a story from when you started. Just a few weeks ago, maybe 2 months ago, there was a similar story of a bill that was in the committee. And without getting involved in the details of the bill, because it's not for right now, but there was a bill that was up that would have been a tremendous sakana for the community. And Yeruchim and a few others reached out to the chairman of the committee, and he made a few amendments.
One little line.
One line.
No one knew about this.
And it never was a story. Until today's never a story. It may never be a story. But the bottom line is,
that would have had it, without going into it, because it's a sensitive issue and I can't heal, would have had a tremendous impact, in a negative way.
Very negative way.
And Baruch Hashem, and without realizing, we got to the chairman of the committee. In a day, bill was changed, done, passed.
Wow.
So let's be honest and forthright. There are going to be critics who are going to say, so how come you didn't do A, and how come you didn't do B, and how come you didn't do C? I already know. I already hear. I know it's going to come.
Yep.
Rabbi Say, Agudah Yisrael is only as strong as you allow us to be. Help us to bring more staff on. Help us to hire more attorneys. Help us to do more work and to be stronger, to bring the Klal Yisrael together. You want to know why we're not as strong as we could be? It's on you, just as much as it's on us. So we're here. We want to grow the organization. We want to strengthen the organization, and the times demand it. The times demand a strong, a vibrant, and an unapologetic Agudah Yisrael to fight and defend for Klal Yisrael. And I'm ready to go. We're all ready to go. I love the team that we have. We have, Baruch Hashem, a combination of veteran Askanim together with some young blood, people who have been out there on the front lines who know how to get things done. L'toivas haklal. We need the community's financial support, and we need you to vote. Avi, we need people to vote. If I'm going to be in public and we're going to be online, and I hope people are watching, there's never been a more important time, Rabbi Say, in Klal Yisrael's, in America for sure, that we should be registered and voting. You're watching the world change in front of our eyes. The very minimal least that one can do today to affect the outcome of our community and how we are approached vis-a-vis government and politicians and the work that we do, you got to be registered. You got to vote. You got to vote.
And for those living in New York City, next year, 2021, virtually the entire city government turns over. There'll be a new mayor, a new controller, about 35 members of the city council. We don't have a seat there. You know what happens?
That's a whole new, it'll be a whole new New York City.
The entire, and you know what's going on. And the questionnaire, which we were involved in just recently, there was a question, the DSA questionnaire. Do you plan to visit Israel? Do you support BDS?
Who is DSA? Explain who DSA is.
The Democratic Socialists of America, who are who have won last month.
Gaining momentum tremendously.
They won. They were in June primaries. 6 members of the assembly, 6 people who were friends or allies, all lost their primaries.
Okay, so we can choose to ignore them at our own peril. We can choose to just ignore what's going on, or we could say Atkan, no more. We've had enough. We've seen enough.
Push back,
and we need to push back.
And we can learn one thing from them: they organize and they fight, and they're out there. We got to do the same thing.
So
we got to match them. Well, we got
punch for punch.
Punch for punch. There you go.
Reb Chasker, Biruchim, I'm being told in my ears, they're yelling at me. We gotta move on. We gotta move on.
Okay.
Thank you very much for joining us.
What's the link?
We're doing it right now. But before I say that, I want to make one more push because we talked about giving to Agudah Yisrael, Charidy.com/Agudah. If you're in New Jersey, /Agudah/New Jersey. Charidy.com/Agudah.
National New York Advocacy.
And Reb Chasker mentioned voting. We're talking about people getting involved financially, helping us. Every dollar counts. 18 is 36. $36 you donate is $72. This is the time to give right now. Besides all that, I want to mention one more thing, the census. We gotta fill out the census. I won't talk too long about it, but if we're having the show,
our great Ari Wasserman, who's our census guru, have informed me about an hour ago before I came here that the raffle was extended through end of September, the big census raffle.
So there's a raffle if someone registered for the census.
Yes.
To send in a
proof, and you entered in there. What's the prize? What's the cash prize again?
$2,500.
There you go. There you go.
$5,000. $5? Really?
No, you can't do 5.
Is it 5?
$2,500.
I think it's 2.5.
So the raffle.
We can make it 5.
We'll get back to you.
We'll make it 5 right here. We made it 5,000. Yeruchim's going to cover it. Yeruchim's going to cover this team. We'll make it $5,000 is going to be the census raffle. Fill out the census.
Fill it out.
But for right now, tonight.
And September 3rd, that's it. Another month, it's done.
One more month.
One more month, September 30th.
Can I just say thank you to some people? Quickly.
I
want to thank all the organizations, and specifically the yeshivas, who have sent out to their parent bodies. Specifically the ones in New York City that I'm close with. I don't want to mention one without the other. I just want to say, I was seeing the emails because I'm on some of their email lists today. And to see a yeshiva who is struggling in its own right send out an email for Agudah Yisrael, it touched me. It's important to me. It's meaningful to us that you chose and choose to ask your parent body to appreciate the work. That means that you appreciate the work of what Agudah Yisrael is doing. It's meaningful to us. We're out there fighting for you. We're out there every day without fail, day and night, fighting for the tzibur. So I'm grateful to all those yeshiva leaders, administrators, board members, principals who saw it fit to include Agudas Yisrael in your push to help us with this campaign. Thank you.
Thank you. Very important, Chassan, for mentioning that. And we will continue to mention this throughout. Thank you, Rabbi Ruchim. Thank you, Rabbi Chaskel. And we will be back in just a few moments. Remember, Charidy.com/Agudah. Every donation makes a huge difference.
In 1988, Agudas Yisrael of America was the first Orthodox Jewish organization to open up a Washington office. Today, led by the unanimously respected Rabbi Abba Cohen, Agudas Yisrael's Washington office has had an incredible impact on nearly every aspect of Jewish life. From the ability to be a Shomer Shabbos Jew in the workplace, to fighting discrimination against any Jew in any place, Agudas Yisrael's Washington office has been an advocate and defender and protector for every Jew in the United States of America. To Agudas Yisrael, nothing is more important than the chinuch of our children, and that reflects in the work of the DC office. The Agudah was involved in securing Title I and Title II funding for our yeshivas, which has brought in tens of millions of dollars for them, impacting Torah in America in unimaginable ways. Your local shul is impacted by Agudah's federal advocacy as well. The Washington office continues to play an integral role in ensuring that nonprofit security grant programs are accessible to them. Most people have no idea that in 1994, there was an overhaul of regulations in the meat industry. Rabbi Cohen scrutinized the language and recognized the threats to shechita in America. Rabbi Cohen then played an integral role in rallying and bringing together Rabbanim and Kashrus agencies and worked successfully to protect shechita in America. Today, the Washington office continues to advocate with the White House, the executive agencies, and on Capitol Hill to protect and secure Jewish rights and Jewish interests. This includes reviewing and crafting legislation, regulation, and public policy, providing background, analysis, and input on Judaism, the community, and our institutions. Be'ezras Hashem, Agudas Yisrael's Washington office should continue with Klal Yisrael's support and Siyata Dishmaya to have an important impact on protecting and defending all of our rights in this great country. Klal Yisrael is counting on us.
Okay, we are back once again. And what an incredible program. Baruch Hashem. Full, like as you think about it, we have these little video clips that give us a little bit of a break. Like you sit back, like, wow, one after the other. But Baruch Hashem, remember, Charidy.com/Agudah. We broke the 50%. We're on the second half, the better half. And we're going to wrap it up tonight. What will we do if we wake up tomorrow morning and we're done? We'll collect more money. Naftali Miller's going to say, no, keep it going.
We always have ways to spend money.
You should know something. One of the conversations and one of the what's it called? The Zoom meetings that we had. We had a few Zoom meetings before the charity with some board members and some other members, building up the momentum to the campaign. And someone said, you know what's the curve about Agudah Yisrael? Whenever they have money, they spend it. They find another project to do. They find another program to do. If someone gave me an extra $2 million for Agudah Yisrael, I'd have it spent in a month. I know already. We already even sent in applications for grants from different organizations because we have a whole list of projects that we're unfortunately unable to do that we would love to do. So it's incredible. So if we do reach the 5 million, which we will in a few hours, tomorrow we can just raise more. And everyone out there, Charidy.com/Agudah, whatever you're able to give, 18, 36, every dollar is doubled.
When you say 36, you mean 3,600.
You can give that as well. If you can't give 3,600, you can give $36. The incredible part about charity, if you look at the list of donors, you have people that gave 10, 10,000, 5, 5,000, all numbers. Every one of those numbers adds up. Tipa, mitzdarfen, and Baruch Hashem, 2.5 million in the bank, sort of. Another 2.5 million to go and more. We are moving along with the program.
And it's great. I think everyone saw the video before, which is about the federal advocacy that we do in Agudah, reaching out to the federal government, Washington, D.C., which really is the source for all of the benefits that we get, protecting our religious rights. Financials comes through in the model. It comes through the federal government often, and then goes down to the states. In many cases, then down to our local city, and then our yeshivas and our community. And the same thing also with protecting rights. We have with us now Rabbi Abba Cohen via Zoom. He's joining us. Avi, you've worked with Abba, so I'd like you to introduce Abba Cohen for a few minutes with a little bit of your relationship with him.
So I haven't worked with Abba. I work for Reb Abba. And that's how it is, has always been. But Reb Abba, in all seriousness, Baruch Hashem, you've been here in Agudah Yisrael for over 30 years, and the accomplishments are tremendous. I will say one quick story, and I may embarrass you. I'm sorry. Too bad. That this is what happened. I was by a conference in Pennsylvania with a national audience of private school leaders, educators from the Catholic schools, the Christian schools, the Muslim schools, Jewish schools. And it was right after this new program came about called ESSA. We're not going to get into the weeds, but it brought in lots and lots of money to yeshivas. Not only money, but it also opened up the availability in how to service special needs children that are the most vulnerable and the most needy. And by this conference, a nun that works for the Catholic Conference says, without knowing who I am, she did not know me. I was in the back of the room. It was my first years working. It was about 4 years ago. And she says, well, this change in the law came about by Abba Cohen from Agudah Israel. And I stood up and I said, yeah, no, I didn't do that. But I was about to. And I was like, that's my man. But it was incredible. We're in Pennsylvania, a massive group, and she's giving this whole presentation to all of these schools. And she said it. No one was recording her. Rabbi Abba was not there. She had no idea that anyone from the Agudah was there. Bottom line is a change that impacted yeshiva students everywhere in this country. Till today, every year the program exists. The man that got credit for it was Rabbi Abba Cohen. Rabbi Abba, did I do a good job?
I hope part of that is true. I mean, really, I'm blushing.
Whatever I said is 100% true, and you'll give me the $20 later.
But you see, Avi, you really took my thunder away, because I was actually going to say, in all seriousness, that I work for you, and I work for you and all the other state and regional directors, because we have like a symbiotic relationship.
I'm going to stop you right here. That's perfect. You work for me. We're going to cut. We're going to hold that thought and leave it.
Okay. Well, then I want to raise. If I work for you, I want to raise.
Oh boy! All right. You know what? We'll add it to the list.
Okay. But it's true. The point I wanted to make is very true, and it's very important for our listeners to know the kind of relationship we have. This give and take relationship between the federal office, the Washington office, and the state offices, where we're really not only we're working together, because in order to accomplish what we accomplish, we have to work together, but we're also learning from each other. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that Chatzkel talked before about the young blood. There are many things that I learned from our younger staff, who are aggressive, and they're intelligent, and they're innovative, and they really bring life to the organization. So I just wanted to say that symbiotic relationship is very important, and that's why our state offices have to be supported, as well as our federal office. They have to be, because one doesn't work well without the other. And the benefit to the community will not be the same if we don't have both segments of our offices strong and active and innovative.
I'll give you a prime example. About 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, I forgot how long ago it was, but a few years ago, right after this new change in this federal law happened, so Abba Cohen was the one that pulled it off, so to speak, in Washington. Then it comes down to the states. Who's going to educate the schools about that? And the schools had no clue, because the school administrators run schools. Principals are doing chinuch. They're not sitting following federal guidance and federal regulations on these programs. That's just how it goes. So we made a webinar, not a webinar, today we do webinars. We did a workshop. That's like a term of the past. We did a workshop with all the schools in New Jersey, and Abba was by the workshop to give a little bit of the background, and you saw that synergy, so to speak, federal to state to the local yeshivas, and you need to connect all those parts together. And that's the beauty of Agudah. And on top of that, the fact that we have 9 regional offices, literally from California to New York to Florida to Ohio, well, Alaska. Alaska's going to have to come later. But like we have Yitzhak Erman, I call him all the time for lunch program questions for New Jersey. And Moshe Matz has this whole special ed scholarship program in Florida that we all talk to. And we all link back to Rabab in Washington for all the federal programs. It's an incredible network that I've never seen any other a model like this to benefit the klal. It's incredible.
So, I wanted to, you've discussed a lot of things that happened in the past. During COVID, a lot of the work we did pivoted. The world was upheaval, and especially in the federal government, we know there was CARES Acts and PPP loans, and there was now things with education. Abba, I want to ask you, what was on your plate? How did you pivot? And tell a little bit about the history of the PPP loan, the CARES loans, the educational stuff. What's happening today?
Well, it's it's interesting you say that, because what's happening today is like nothing that's happened before. And what's happening today was not like what happened yesterday. That's how fast the changes are occurring, and how much of a different world we live in almost day to day. So when the COVID struck a few months ago, I always say it was really the most significant ruchniistika event that has happened in American Jewish history. If you think about it, nothing more significant has happened to the Jewish community than what's happened in COVID. When you think about the fact that shuls were closed and yeshivas were closed, and formal, as we understand it, formal religious life was closed down. And we've never had that in American history, where our Banim told their communities now's the time we have to close our shuls or our yeshivas. But in addition to that, it's also the most significant time in regard to the economic and financial health of our community, because everybody understood that when COVID hit and schools were being affected and businesses were being affected and all kinds of nonprofit institutions were being affected, something major had to come in its wake and literally save, Yezras Hashem, save what people's livelihoods, the community's institutions, and the PPP loan was intended to keep businesses alive, to keep workers employed. And one of the problems with the PPP, as it had existed before, was that it wasn't available to nonprofits.
Right.
Which meant that our yeshivas and our shuls and our mostos,
Chesed organizations, everything.
Right, Chesed would not have been able to benefit. And Chas v'sholom, I don't want to say that they would have gone under, because it's too terrible to even think about. But surely it was within the realm of possibility, if not probability.
Could I say, Rababa?
Yeah.
They would have gone under.
Okay, all right, you said it.
That's what I was told by people that have moistus. They told me if not for the
PPP,
right. They would not be in existence. They did not have money to pay. Either they would have laid everybody off. If they would have laid everybody off, they would not have been able to continue doing their services. Not yeshivas, chesed organizations.
Right. It's a pachad. It's a pachad to think that, but it's true. What we worked on first of all in regard to the PPP loans, which were lifesavers, was the fact that we had to get nonprofits in, but even that wasn't good enough. We were successful in getting nonprofits in, but that wasn't good enough because we knew there would be opposition to religious groups, to religiously affiliated institutions, and which is our community lifeblood. So we worked on it and we lobbied and we lobbied and we lobbied harder and harder. And Baruch Hashem, with the help of some other organizations and with the help of key people on Capitol Hill and in the White House, religious institutions, religious entities were included in the benefits of the PPP, which was a tremendous success in terms of our shtadlanis. And it was a tremendous success for the community because it brought the kind of assistance it needed at the most critical time that we've experienced. So and there were other things, but there were deep once you got into the parsha, so to speak, there were all kinds of difficulties. Questions came up about parsonage. Questions came up about small institutions versus big institutions. A number of questions. Questions came up about audits, the very, very expensive audits that nonprofits would have to endure if they were going to participate in PPP, and would have affected our mostos in a very severe way.
Bob, you're bringing back to me all these memories and headaches of all these questions. I remember. We get, if it's a federal grant, is it not a federal grant?
Right.
For a yeshiva, the thresholds, 500,000, 750,000,
right.
All these.
Becoming eligible, Avi, started our tsaris. And was that, you think maybe that was the, once we were eligible, there were so many questions and there were so many difficulties. And we were fielding phone calls from all over the United States. From yeshivas, from shuls, from Meister Chesed and Stucca, with what about this question and that question, and everything had to be checked with the Small Business Administration, the Department of Treasury, and Baruch Hashem, we were able to be successful in getting some of our concerns addressed in the Department of Treasury guidelines and the SBA guidelines. There's still issues that have to be worked out. And we continue to work on them as Congress is now considering another phase. But they were very, very critical in the very beginning. And the fact that in such a short amount of time, at such a critical time, we were able to mobilize not only on Capitol Hill, but to get our community involved. And again, it goes back to the local offices and the local communities. Abba Cohen can go to Capitol Hill and give a presentation, but unless a senator or a congressman sees that there's a community behind me, they're not going to. It's not going to affect them in the same way. Unless he or she sees that there are faces behind me and people affected through our local offices and through our local communities, it's not going to have the same effect. And I think the reality that we tried to convey, that this is going to affect our community and its institutions and its members in a very tangible, very, very devastating way, frankly. I think that made a tremendous difference in getting these things across.
Bob, it's an interesting thing. We're by a charity campaign. We're raising money for Agudah Yisrael. If we would just think for 30 seconds about the amount of organizations, yeshivas, that were saved from one line that Abba Cohen was able to pull off by being in Washington, it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming. Do you realize you may not have had your son's yeshiva would have shut down? In New Jersey, there are 20 private schools, organizations, yeshivas.
Also the payrolls of all these people.
Of course, everything.
Right.
Individuals, of course. But but think about it. In New Jersey, I know of 20 private schools, not Jewish schools, that are shutting down because COVID knocked them out. I mean, there was a reality that COVID was knocking out nonprofits. If our meisters would not have had PPP, Chas v'Shalom, there are thousands of people whose children would not be in the yeshiva this year. That's a fact. So you think about Agudah Yisrael, you're watching the show, how can I ensure that my children's yeshiva stay? That my rights, my viability of our community continues? $18, $36, $72, $100, whatever you're able to continue.
And I'll tell you also,
Charidy.com/Agudah.
Avi, I'll tell you also in regard to that, one of the things that we're working on, we've been working on and continue to work on, is providing tax benefits for contributions to nonprofit organizations. Right now, the tax benefits are certainly not, they're very modest, and we're working hard to make them, have a higher tax benefit so that our Mostos can step in and do the work that they're needed to do, especially at this critical time. So many of our Mostos are working harder than ever and stepping up where other governmental or other kinds of institutions aren't or can't. It's for nonprofits in our community, our contributions are our lifeblood, and one of the things we're working on, which will benefit all the Mostos in the community, is better tax benefits so that there'll be more contributions, and therefore more services able to be provided by these Mostos. So it's.
Baba, they're screaming in my ear again that we're running late and we got to move on with the program. This has been a very informative show. I'm looking at myself, I'm looking down at the computer, but I have to look at the screen as well. It gets a little confusing, but it's great. We're having a great time over here. Rabbi Abba, thank you so much for joining us.
Very welcome. But Avi, wait, I think that's your wife screaming in your ear, to tell you the truth. I don't know.
Well, either which way, they tell me to stop, and I got to move on.
Okay.
So, Abba, we're out.
Okay. Very good.
Rabbi Abba, thank you so much. And I think this is a glimpse in the impact that Agudah Yisrael has to every individual's ability to continue as from members of Klal Yisrael. Shai, what's next on the program?
Okay, so really, I want to thank. We have coming up a video, a special message from Rabbi Elephant, one of the Rams or Yeshivas in Yeshivas Mir Yerushalayim. He took time out of his busy schedule right now. What he's doing, he's in 2 yeshivas because they have to move part of the yeshiva down.
Getty, yeah.
And he's spending so much time preparing shiur, but he took time out to give a little bit of a Elul message to the community in honor of this event. I asked him, he took the time out, and I appreciate that. And here we are. Coming up right now is that special shmooze.
Shalom Aleichem. We're in the days getting ready, moving closer towards Slichas, to Rosh Hashanah, Yom Hadin. We find in Chazal a very interesting description and perhaps definition of Rosh Hashanah. The Mishnah says in Rosh Hashanah, Daf Zayin, Ba'arba Prokim Ha'olam Nida. And the Mishnah is talking about the fact that there are 4 times a year that there's a din, there's a mishpat. The Pesach al Tvur, on Pesach, there's a mishpat on the Tvur, on the grain, Batzeres, on Shuas, al Peros, Elon, on the fruit. Rosh Hashanah, Kol Boy Olam Oivim Lefana Kivnei Morim. On Rosh Hashanah, all of humanity, all of the human being, passed before HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Kivnei Morim literally means single file. The Gemara speaks about different aspects of what type of single file. Shenemar Yetzi Yachad Libo Me'evin Kol Masem Ubechag and Sukkos Nidanim Alamayim. Sukkot, there's a mishpat on the water. There's a very interesting change in the Mishnah. The Mishnah is speaking about 4 times a year where there's a mishpat. It would have been appropriate for the Mishnah to say that in 4 times a year there's a mishpat, Pesach on the Tvur, Shavuos on the fruit, Rosh Hashanah on the humanity, and on Sukkot on the water. In 3 out of the 4 places it says, the Pesach al Tvur, Batzeres Aperes Elon, and Achag Nidayin Malamayim. By Rosh Hashanah, the Mishnah says a whole long speech. Kol boy olam oivrim lefanav kivnei morim. He should have said on Rosh Hashanah, on Nidayinim alachayim, is a judgment on life itself. So the fact that the Mishnah changes the description of the mishpat is obviously that this description of humanity and human beings passing before HaKadosh Baruch Hu single file is not a trivial prat, a trivial detail in the Mishpat of Rosh Hashanah, rather it's the definition of the Mishpat itself. The explanation is that the nature of the Mishpat on Rosh Hashanah is defined by the fact that Hayom Har Asaylam. That means because Rosh Hashanah was the day of the creation of man, where HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave life and began the Chiyos of Adam Arishon. That's why we find something very interesting where in the entire davening of Rosh Hashanah, which is Chazal's way of telling us what our Avodah is, there's no mention of the Din, there's no mention of the Mishpat. Rather, the entire davening and the entire tzura of the day revolves around our request for the recrowning and the recoronation and the coronation of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the reason is because really what's happening in Rosh Hashanah is that every year, like the Ramchal speaks out, there's a new cycle of life. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu begins a new cycle of the Bria. And Rosh Hashanah, there's a Schachus HaBria. The purpose of the Bria, we all have roles in the Bria, but the general role in the Bria is to be Ma'amlech HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to reveal and establish the Rebbeinu Shalom's Malucha, the Rebbeinu Shalom's kingdom in the world. So, on Rosh Hashanah, there's really three steps which are derivatives of each other. There's the Hischachus of the Bria, there's a renewal of the Bria. That in turn creates the Mishpat, because when the Rebbeinu Shalom gives out another slice of life, another year of life, the Mishpat is a requirement of that. It's a derivative of that, of who deserves life, who wants life, whose life plays a purpose. And it's under that auspices that we daven for Malchus Hashem, because we understand and we have that cognizance that the new life that we're getting now is for that purpose. And that's the primary role and goal of that life. So the reason why we pass in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu single file on Rosh Hashanah is for a very simple reason, because Adam Harishon was created Yechidi. The Gemara says in Sanhedrin Daf Lamed Ches that Adam Harishon was created as an individual without anybody else around him. He was created as a single individual alone, and the Rebbeinu Shalom created the entire world, the entire universe, with all its myriad of details, just for him. And since the creation of Adam Rishon was as an individual, as a single person, Adam Nivra Yechidi, says the Gemara. So the Mishpat on Rosh Hashanah, which is primarily a rejuvenation and a renewal and a hischatshus of the Bria again every year, is done single file, because really the Mishpat is this single file of Oivrim Lefanav Kivnei Maron. Really, we're passing in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu to get a new life. And we pass single file because the recreation of life every Rosh Hashanah is a carbon copy of the way it started. And the way it started was Gadol Adam Shenivra Yechidi. So the reason why the Mishnah in Rosh Hashanah changes the Lashon and describes Rosh Hashanah as a day when we pass in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu single file, instead of just saying simply that on Rosh Hashanah there is a mishpat on life, is because the nature of the mishpat on Rosh Hashanah doesn't begin with a mishpat, with a judgment like all the other time periods. Rather, the mishpat on Rosh Hashanah is a derivative of the fact that we pass in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu on Rosh Hashanah to get a new slice of life, to get another new round of life. And that's why it's done single file, Kivnei Mara, and one at a time, because that was the tzura, that was the way the world was created. And the mishpat is a derivative of that fact. So the passing of the Lefanav Kivnei Mara is the mishpat simply because what's really happening is HaKadosh Baruch Hu is giving out life again, one at a time, to each individual, with each person's potential, each person's gifts, each person's tafkid. As a result of that, there's a mishpat. That's why the Mishnah in Rosh Hashanah describes the mishpat of Rosh Hashanah as passing in front of Kadosh Baruch Hu one by one, because the mishpat is really a derivative of the fact that Kadosh Baruch Hu is giving life again to every human being. Gadol Adam Shenivra Yechidi. This yediyah, knowing this, has huge ramifications for all of us, because what it means is that the Mishpat of Rosh Hashanah is primarily rooted in the new opportunity. It's a derivative of the opportunity. It doesn't start with the mishpat. And that's why the mishpat's at the beginning of the year, not at the end of the year, because the mishpat's about the future. It's not about the past. The mishpat is, are you deserving of the new opportunity? Are you willing to take the new opportunity? Are you a kli kibbul, a receptacle for the new opportunity? Do you want to serve a purpose in the world? So the mishpat at Rosh Hashanah is primarily rooted in new opportunities, in a new slice of life that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives. And we come to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and we say, give us another year of life. We're going to use it properly. We're going to use it for the right purpose. We're going to use it for the right goal. And the mishpat is a result of the opportunity that Rosh Hashanah affords us. But more than that, the opportunity that comes is individual. And even though it's true, a person needs to be part of a klal, but when we talk about life itself, each person is given his own life with his own gifts and his own opportunities. And it's a very, very private affair. It's a very individual affair, because every person has their challenges, but every person has their gifts, and every person has their opportunities. And at the end of the day, the mishpat of Rosh Hashanah is something very individual and something very private, because that's the essence of the creation of Adam Rishon, how he was created, with that individualism and that special opportunities for him alone. There's another major consequence to that. The Rambam says in Hilchos Tshuva in Perek Gimel Halacha Daled, the Rambam says that the Rambam connects two topics which seem to have no connection at all. The Rambam says that Afal Pish at Tkiya Shefer Rosh Hashanah Gzeres HaKosov, the Rambam says that Tkiya Shefer has a remez, as we all know. The Rambam says to a person should wake up from his sleep, from his slumber, and do tshuva. And then the Rambam continues, something which seems to be not connected at all. The Rambam says, Lefichach, tzarech kol adam she'yira atzmo kol hashana kula kilo chetzi zakei chetzi chayev. A person should look at himself a whole year as if he's half-half, as if his life is in balance. V'chein kol ha'olam chetzi zakei chetzi chayev. Not only on himself, but he should look at it as if the whole bria, the whole world, is in a balance of half positive, half negative. And every action that he does, positive or negative, a mitzvah or chas v'shalom and avera, tips the scales. The Rambam says that this cognizance, this awareness of our behavior an entire year, that we live in that balance, is something that we should learn out of Tkiya Shefer. Lefichach, says the Rambam, if you were mis'er, if you woke up from Tkiya Shefer, then you should live with this cognizance. What does the fact that a person lives in this balance a whole year have to do with Tkiya Shefer? But the answer is, the Rambam says that the blowing of the Shefer reminds a person to wake up, to do tshuva, and to get to a situation of zichru barachim, to remember that somebody created you. The Rambam says that the end purpose of the hisayrus of Tkiya Shefer is to get to a place that a person remembers that he was created. Because that's the real heart of what Rosh Hashanah is about. Rosh Hashanah is we were created, and we were given life, and we are given new life. And Rosh Hashanah says, wake up and realize that there is a creator. But if we realize there was a creator, and we realize that we were created, so then we also realize one more thing, that we were created as individuals. And chayav adam leimer b'shvili nivra olam. If we were created as individuals, that gives an enormous chashivos and importance to our actions. That gives tremendous weight to what we do, to our actions, to our thoughts, to our words. Because we were created as individuals, and the entire universe was created just for us. Chayav adam leimer, says the Gemara in Sanhedrin, b'shvili nivra olam. The whole world was just created for me. So everything we do has cosmic importance. And that's why the Rambam connects that if you heard the call of the shofar, and you woke up from your slumber, and you remember that you're a nivra, you were created, you were given life by HaKadosh Baruch Hu for a certain purpose. So that awareness of being given life, and being given life as an individual, that exponentially expands the importance and the chashivas of who we are, and the meaning of our actions on the entire bria, irrespective of somebody else. And the Rambam says that awareness a person could take with him a whole year. That awareness of the chashivas and the importance that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives to the life, our life, that we file by HaKadosh Baruch Hu one by one, where He slices another slice of life, gives us an awareness and meaning to everything we do. And that's really what the Mishpat of Rosh Hashanah is about. The Mishpat of Rosh Hashanah is about a new year of life. So we should be benched, all of us, that, like Chazal said, Shana Sharasha B'tchilasa, a year that's poor at the beginning, Mis Asheres B'Sofer gets rich at the end. Poor at the beginning doesn't have to be a negative term. Poor at the beginning means that we live with the awareness that we're starting a whole new year. We have nothing from last year. We're beginning a new slate. Kol Shana Sharasha B'tchilasa means that a year that at the beginning begins off poverty-stricken. Poverty-stricken means I don't have anything because last year is over and now I'm going to get a new slate of life. I need a new slate of life. And I understand that it's been given to me for very, very important reasons, just to me alone. When we live with that cognizance that we're starting a new slate, and we understand that it's been given to us for something very, very important, because our mitzvahs and our maisim and our thoughts and our tefillas have critical value. They can tip the scales of the whole world, because b'shvili never oilam, human being was created as an individual, and that's his nitzchi dike chashivas. Then we'll certainly be benched with a ksiv v'chasim tova and a good gebenched jar, and we'll be able to receive the tremendous gifts that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives them and use them properly. We're speaking at an Agudah function. I think that this nekuda of the chashivas of every yid and the nitzchi is the endless, above time and above place of the chashivas of every yid's Torah and every yid's maisim, every yid's mitzvahs, and every yid's needs, is an articulation of Oivrim Lefanav Kivnei Morim. And together we should all be gebenched with a good gebenched year and a year of Hatzlocha and Ruchnias and Gashmias and Nachas. And we should be Zeicha to Melecha Kol Ha'olam Kula B'Chvodecha V'yeda Kapol Ka'ata Pa'altoi V'yoven Kol Yitzur Ka'ati Yitzartoi Kol Tov.
Sit up.
Okay, we are back, and what a tremendous opportunity. You know, throughout this whole campaign, we're busy. The money's coming in, we're hacking, we're poaching. Sit back a little bit, and you hear a little shmooze, a little divrei chizik for Elzman. Get us ready, get us in the mode. You know, before we kicked off the campaign, the incredible thing, one of the charity members said to us on our last call, like the last, the farewell, hatzlacha, good luck, we hope for the best. See you on the other side call. They told us, one guy, I forgot his name, one of the organizers says, just so I remember one thing that someone told him once, you do all the hard work, leave a little space for the Rebbeinu Shalom. Leave a little space, a little abrekel. Leave a little space for the Rebbeinu Shalom to come in and do his magic. So in the midst of this whole campaign, which I think is appropriate for Agudah Yisrael, because we Taka are the organization that is all about Torah, supporting Torah lifestyle, but led by Gedolei Torah, that we take a little 15-minute stop, pause, and say, what does Rosh have to say about it? A little divrei hashkafa, divrei mus, divrei chizik.
I think Agudah is all about siyata d'shmaya. The fact that Avi has Texas with the governor is a. Did you ever think growing up that the governor of the state of New Jersey is going to be texting you, "Hi Avi, how you doing?"
I was going to be happy if I would know who the governor was.
What a governor is.
That much I would know.
I think that Agudah, the people that are in Agudah have such siyata d'shmaya and such connections and such, because there's such
all siyata d'shmaya.
Also, and they're all
every bit of
it. People that are just stand by themselves. They're not looking for any fame, any glory. You know, you don't walk around saying, I have the governor on my speed dial that I can get him on the phone. Whenever.
I sometimes say that, by the way.
Probably when you want to get ahead of the line.
No, I don't come to why. When someone like, I said, by the way, if you need me, I could text the governor.
And if need be. And you just had a beautiful session with Abba Cohen. He has connections to the White House. Whenever, and each person has these unbelievable connections.
A.D. Wilson wasn't here. He wasn't able to come on. He was supposed to come on the program. He wasn't able to be here. But first we need to talk about A.D. Wilson because he's the bomb. And he's like sort of my boss. So like, I have a lot of bosses.
Abba Cohen, you had Chaim David.
Yeah, they're all bosses.
Now we introduce next.
Welcome to my life. Yeah, thank you. It's not easy working here.
I thought I was your boss.
There you go. Another guy. So I want to tell you something. After tonight, you'll be my boss, We'll find out. But here's a story. Adi Motzen, who's someone that has been involved in cloud work and all this stuff for many, many, many years. I don't know where he stands in the decades. Yeah, if he got to that point, we say decades, but he's been here for a long time. And obviously tremendous accomplishments, so on and so forth. All the regional directors, we all look up to him. He is our mentor. He guides us. When I first started, there wasn't, I think, 6 hours that went by that either I didn't call him or he didn't write an email to me. Stop sending emails till I look at it first so I can correct the mistakes. And that was the first few months. And then I just stopped sending him emails. It's too bad. But on a serious note, about Siyata Deshmaya, the Secretary of Education is a lady Betsy DeVos.
Yes.
She was not a politician. She is an incredible person. But she had some scholarship fund in Michigan that Adi Motzen, who's from Cincinnati, Ohio, developed a relationship with through advocating. Wow. And all of a sudden, the wildest person to ever become the Secretary of Education that never taught in a classroom but was really good at her job became it. We have now when we were in Washington, yes. We were the first group that had a meeting, a public meeting, so to speak, with the Secretary of Education, Betsy DeVos, was Agudah Yisrael.
I was there, and she said, Rabbi Motzen, I want to take a picture together with you and Rabbi Zubel.
It's unbelievable.
I want to tell you, but it's not just that. Just last week, I got a call because one of the schools had something went wrong digitally with their application for their CARES Act, and they called me up and they said, what can we do about it? So I called up Adi Motzen. They said, Shai, don't worry, in a half hour, I have a call with the chief of staff of the secretary. I'll talk to you. He calls me up an hour later. He already texted the person saying, okay, we got it taken care of, we're going to work on it. And then you want to hear what I found out afterwards? I found out really this yeshiva who was looking for it, they already had gone to their association, which they pay to be a part of, and they couldn't get it done.
Wow.
So now they called Agudah, and they get a free thing. Now he got his thing for $100,000, all because of the Agudah, and all because there was a call. Boom.
Knew a guy. That's what it's all about.
I think these ads that came out for the campaign and started showing heroes, and Baruch Hashem, we had Avi's picture in the ads, and and others.
And Naftali's iconic picture on the cell phone.
Oh, please.
Do you have a cell phone?
I put it down for this interview because I don't want to. But I think there's such unsung heroes that work for the Agudah, and it's a big amount of people that work in the Agudah. You know that the budget of Agudah is $7.5 million.
Wow.
You know that it's astounding, that amount. Because Baruch Hashem, we have a wonderful staff, and we should really expand it. But the staff is...
And hopefully, if we hit 5, 6, 7 million, we will expand it. Avi already said he knows how to spend $2 million.
I thought we're getting raises, Shai. We're hiring people. You're killing us.
You gotta think to the future. You gotta grow.
I am. I'm thinking about my future.
I'm only in Agudah for about 2 years. And the first little while I was there, I had the privilege of going with Avi to expand the Jersey office. And today, they have... from a good friend, Ari Stern, we opened up an office in New Jersey, in Lakewood. And Baruch Hashem, the office, Avi is able to do so much more because now he has an office, there's someone there and there's someone to answer the call. But Agudah is vital for Klal Yisrael. We got to expand it. $7.5 million is peanuts for what Klal Yisrael needs. The budget of Agudah should really be $10.5 million. To do it right, to do it properly,
No. We're doing it right.
No, but
we're
to
doing
do
it properly.
But
to do more.
No, but to do it, to do justice for what Klal Yisrael needs.
They're unmet projects.
What we're facing now in communities with the growth, we should have another lawyer on staff that could fight for Klal Yisrael. Every single time someone says, no, you can't move there, you can't open a show, I want to have that lawyer on our speed dial that we're paying, say, go to court right now. So Avi Schnell doesn't have to go to court and defend him. There was a fascinating case that Avi had just recently, right, with the community with the growth.
Who would have thought that Naftali we were talking about court cases about religious rights, okay?
But this case, you have to hear from Avi.
It happened, it's an incredible case. It's a story.
It's unbelievable.
And I just remind everybody, as we talk about these stories, Charidy.com /Agudah. Charidy.com/Agudah, because we only will be able to get that $10 million.
We can only continue sharing these stories, these messages.
If we have the funds, and the TAC are incredible stories, and I mean, there was so much stuff that happened tonight, and Shai, I'm giving you, Mr. Werdiger gave you a job, and I was appointed as your manager to oversee that job of the follow-up from tonight. So part of your first projects, Shai.
So do I ask him for a raise?
We'll see how tonight goes. As part of your first projects from tonight's thing is to cut up tonight's show into segments, and each segment was a book. Abacon. I mean, you just look at the PPP loans. It's a true story.
$500 million came to yeshivas because of PPP.
Because of a line, and he was there. I'm not going to say, and he'll never say it because he's an Anav, and that's why we love him. But yes, it was a group. It was a group. But it was every member of the group. I was in that place in Pennsylvania. I heard the nun say,
you know what's
Rabbi Abacon from Agudah Israel. I heard it. So we had this story. And it's just so impactful. The $7 million is a drop in the bucket. The ROI, that's a big, right? The ROI on the $7 million for Klal Yisrael is hundreds of, there's no better investment where you get a return like this investment.
I told someone today that your donation is doubled, but the value is times 10.
Very good. I would say infinite.
I think there's a few things that are very important from this charity campaign that's really happening. This is that first opportunity that a person can give $100 and really make a difference. You're making a difference is compounded. Every $100 that's given, it turns into $200. Today, during the day, it was every 30 seconds, another person of Klal Yisrael was speaking up and say, I want to be part of this.
I'm looking at the screen. Literally just goes 72, 100, 72, 250, 720, 360. I'm looking at the numbers. Yeah. It's absolutely incredible, and it's going to continue tonight. It does not end tonight. It goes till tomorrow. To what time tomorrow?
10 p.m.
But don't be that person. Don't be that. I'm looking at the camera. Don't be that guy that calls at 10 o'clock. I still get my money. No, it's over. Don't wait till 9:15.
Hold on one second. We will.
But I'll I want to go back. You mentioned you've been part of Agudah for a little bit over 2 years.
Yes.
The getting you into the Agudah was a process.
Yes.
And I really want to thank, Nehemiah for being that part of it. He made sure that always...
Sorry.
Yeah. Never going to live it down. But Nehemiah was a part of that process. Nehemiah has taken a very, very active role in the organization. I must say that all the successes you've seen, many of the successes you've seen of the growth of conventions and projects through that, especially the young guys, has been Nehemiah. But Nehemiah, I want to get your thoughts on someone who's been active, involved. Give me a quick, 30-second feeling about the importance of the Agudah and what it is that people like you are giving back to the Agudah.
So I want to say something that Avi mentioned. He almost glossed over it, and that's that, we talk about the connections on the government level. It's not just on the government level. Everybody who works in the Agudah also has connections to Gedolei Yisrael. If when there's a shayla that comes up, one of the first projects we worked on together, Shai, remember? Teres Chesed. And it was a project we were working on right after Hurricane Sandy. We weren't sure we had a shayla, and we called the Novominsker Rebbe Zatzal, and we asked him the shayla, and then he said, "What's the project called?" And he suggested a name for the project. And one of the guys afterwards said, "Imagine right now we're working on a project that was named by the Novominsker Rebbe." Wow. And that's what it means to work in with Agudah Yisrael, for Agudah Yisrael. And it's work that is impactful on every level, but really it's a treat for anybody to have that level of access and to be involved with people who have that level of access and are humble. Every regional director not only has governors, congressmen, senators, White House aides, everything at their disposal, and they're all humble, normal, regular people. They don't walk in the street with that air like they're operating on the level that they are, and that speaks to the fact that they really understand that the work that they're doing. Everybody who works in 42 Broadway, and everyone who works across the country for the Agudah understands that their mission goes beyond themselves, and they're doing Hakadosh Baruch Hu's work, and it's a privilege for myself and for other guys who have the opportunity to work together with these wonderful people to be able to do that.
Thank you very, very much.
I just want
We have to wrap it up.
I would just like to add.
Okay.
I'd like to add.
He's the boss.
He pays the bills.
And thank everybody. You should know one thing. When a person's giving that $100, it's not the $100. What is it? it's $200, but it inspires other people to do it.
That's right.
And it's very important for this campaign is that we have tremendous amount of people that are part of it, because everybody's watching. The politicians are watching, the people are watching, and every single person that sees another $100, they're inspired to give another $100. Join us, be part of it, help this vital movement, and let's change Klal Yisrael for the better.
And just before we go, right before we introduce the next segment, the video, I really want to wish a special mazel tov to Tali making a wedding. Wednesday night? No, Thursday
Tomorrow,
night.
Thursday night. Thursday night.
You know, he's been a part of this. You know, you don't know. But mazel tov to simchas and nachas from the whole family.
Thank you.
We're now going to go to a short video. Rabbi Bender took a few minutes out of his day to share with us a few thoughts about chinuch, about the situation that we're in now, going into following up on our COVID experience and the month of El. Rabbi Bender took a few minutes from his schedule, and he was able to share with us these thoughts.
What a real pleasure it is to say a few words about the wonderful organization, Agudah Yisrael of America, really the address for every Jew. We in Yeshiva, when we need something, the first thing we think of, it's called the Agudah. It's an address. I remember my father always telling me, many, many years ago, I was a kid, obviously, and Yerushalayim Haim used to always say, you need an address. The Klal Yisrael address really is 5 Beekman Street. I'm dating myself. 5 Beekman was a long time ago, but it doesn't matter. It's the Agudah. It's not 5 Beekman Street. 5 Beekman became holy, and now it's other addresses, William Street, and so on and so forth. It's very, very important to realize that we have an address to go to. And we're grateful and thankful that all of us are participating in this momentous few days to help the Agudah stand on its own wonderful, wonderful 2 feet. This week's parasha, after a long, difficult teichacha, where we see Nebuch how much of that happened over the years, particularly 75 years ago in World War II, the Teicha. But there's a little bit of an answer at the end. After the Teicha is over, Kadosh Baruch Hu says through Moshe Rabbeinu the following words, Pasuk Gimel after the Teicha: V'lo nasan Hashem lochem leiv ladas. Hashem didn't give you a heart with which to understand. Ve'inayim liros, v'oznayim lishmaya, eyes with which to see, ears with which to hear. Ad hayom hazeh, till this day. What is this day all about? What's this day all about? So Rashi says, normally Rashi is based on Safra, Sifri, Yerushalmi, Bavli, Kahina. He says, Shamati, I heard. What was Oisi Hayom? Oisi Hayom was the day when Moshe Rabbeinu gave the Torah. There was one Torah in the world at the time. And he took that one Torah and he gave it to Bnei Levi in Parshas Vayelech. He gave it to the Shevet Levi. And Klal Yisrael stepped forward and said to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to Moshe Rabbeinu rather, they said to Moshe Rabbeinu, we too stood in Sinai. Why are you giving control of the Torah to your Shevet? There'll be a day, Yom Achar, meaning when you won't be around anymore, Moshe Rabbeinu. Meaning the Moshe Rabbeinu. Literally 120 years. They're going to say, hey, it's not your Torah, Klal Yisrael, it's ours. It's our Torah. Moshe Rabbeinu should become very upset. The last ones who ever did that was Kairach V'Adosai. They said, why are you taking control, Shevet Levi? Why are you doing this, Moshe Rabbeinu? Why are you the boss? And here Klal Yisrael is saying to Moshe Rabbeinu, why are you giving control of the Torah to your Shevet? You know what Rashi says? The Simach Moshe became excited. Moshe became excited. He became excited because he saw Klal Yisrael wants the Torah. Now, this is the Yom Hazeh. Now you have the Leiv. Now you have the Einayim. And now you have the Oznayim to hear. Because you want a part of the Torah. Moshe Rabbeinu was excited and happy. Klal Yisrael today. Give out Kok Rabbi say. I say to all of you out there, we should be thrilled. We talk about problems we have today, opening yeshiva, closing yeshiva, COVID ahim, COVID aher. And we have to feel along, of course, with the pain of those people that are suffering from it. But look what we are today. Look at our children. They want to learn Torah. Wherever you walk, wherever you go, wherever you hear, there are thousands of kids who want to get into the yeshivas. They don't learn the Torah. That's our job. You as the parents, or us as rebbeim and teachers, to moras, our job is to make it exciting for them. They want to learn Torah. And that's what Moshe Rabbeinu was so excited about, and we should be excited about. You know what? We need an organization like that, Agudah, who makes it happen. Going back to the Chavetz Chaim and the Ger Rebbe and Rabbeinu Chaim Oizer, and to today's Gdei Yisrael, Yiftach B'Dayrei, Kishmul B'Dayrei. The Agudah is the address from where Das Torah emanates. where it comes out to tell us what we should do. Parents, rebellion, there's an address. But we have to realize how lucky we are, today's day and age, how lucky we are, Baruch Hashem, that our children want to learn Torah. It's fantastic. I grew up 1950s, 1960s. There wasn't like today. The rutzin to learn is there big time. And the credit goes to all of the parents, all of the rebellion, all of the yeshivas, and of course to Agudah. So I say to all you, chizku v'yamtzu, strengthen yourself. This is the goal of all of us, the yeshivas and you parents and the organizations. Let's strengthen ourselves. We should be gebenched a healthy year. Only the best. We should see only Yeshua's v'nachamas of all of Klal Yisrael. The people of Chaylim should become near push. They should have fruas. People should have children, healthy children. And we should see nachas in our children. At Yavashila, Meir B'Yameinu, Amen V'Yamein.
And as we wrap up the evening, what a night. What a night. Incredible. And again, a tremendous thank you, Yashir Kaich, to Rabbi Bender for giving us those divrei chizuk, divrei hadracha in these trying times. It's an incredible thing. We have this all excitement and all the substance and programs and discussions, and in the middle of it, we pause. We hear Rabbi Elephant, we hear from Rabbi Bender, remind ourselves, leave that little space for the Rebbeinu Shalom to come inside. So we continue to have Siyata D'Shmai, Baruch Hashem. The numbers are growing. I'm looking at it, it's keep on coming in. One guy gave $10. One guy gave $720, $72. Every dollar counts. Charidy.com/Agudah, Charidy.com/Agudah. We are wrapping up the program for tonight, but the campaign continues throughout the morning, throughout the afternoon, till tomorrow night, I believe, right? Till 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock. 10 o'clock
till
tomorrow
10
night.
p.m. tomorrow night. Maybe we should do another Agudah Live tomorrow night, like a countdown.
Ooh, I like that idea.
We should like the last final hour when everyone wakes up to donate. You know, the bonus round. We'll discuss it. We'll talk about it. Okay. But we are Baruch Hashem joined
I've
here
got
in the
instant
studio.
feedback that it's been great. Everyone has been very excited listening tonight. So
we should do it again.
I encourage you.
Well, hakol hoilach acher hagmar.
There you go.
So if it doesn't end well, Rabbi Becker. Or we can say acher chaviv, all the different things we need to say. But it's a tremendous schos and covet to have Rabbi Becker, the role model of all of us here in Agudah Yisrael, the Moira Derek, so to speak, of all of us younger ones here in the organization. And it's just to have you join us. And we're joined also by the most recent addition. I feel good saying that because I'm from the newer guys also.
No more. No more. No more. You're now a veteran.
In high school, the freshie treatment, you know, like the Chatz Shal not even Agudah Yisrael. But Baruch we came in, you have a desk, you'll get a desk, you get an office, you get set up. Rabbi Becker's first desk was in a coat closet.
That's right.
And so whatever
literally with the coat
situation there is, turn to Rabbi Becker and he'll give you chizuk.
I'd just like to mention, by the way, that Chai El is my anniversary, 41 years in Agudah.
Wow.
That's nice. So
40 years, Taka.
41.
41 years.
Someone gave a donation, and their request was that anybody who's been working at the Agudah over 40 years should get a raise. So I was like, who's that?
Oh.
Now I find that.
Here.
Now I know what we're talking about.
So my wife sent that in. Huh?
Very good. I gotta
Thank you.
But we have with us Rabbi Shua Pincus, who has joined us, joining our Agudah staff starting officially today, September 1st.
Yeah. Wow. Welcome.
From Chicago.
Thank
But
you.
really, I brought him onto this show. We want to bring him not just to talk about the national Agudah, but also let's get a little bit specific. One of our regions. He comes from running the yeshiva, one of the JDBY LMNOP in Chicago, the biggest school in Chicago. And as executive director there, I wanted to hear your thoughts on the impact that our office in Chicago had on your yeshiva.
It's absolutely incredible. Agudah Israel has really changed the face of chinuch in Chicago with all the tremendous benefits and programs that they've been able to provide. There's the busing, which they actually, Agudah originally was the busing company, and they got the government grants, and now it's there's a private busing company, but they're still in charge of all the grants. And I'm moving here, and I got a busing a letter from my kid's school, and I'm like, forget about it. This is 10 times what I pay in Chicago. So, Rabavi, you know, we got some work.
He got some work to do.
He's in New York.
He's in New Jersey.
Oh, you're in New Jersey?
New Jersey, yeah. So that, and then the Kiwi Kids hot lunch program, subsidized hot lunch program. That's the I believe the first subsidized hot lunch program in Chicago since I was in Yeshiva's First many years ago. And Baruch Hashem and Agudah provides that as well. There is, and of course, Val Kulam is STC. STC, which has brought millions and millions of dollars
What
of
is
tuition.
STC? I have no idea what
STC,
that
the
is.
Scholarship Tax Credit Program, which has enabled, everybody who wants to donate their money to a scholarship fund, as opposed to instead of paying state taxes. Illinois has pretty high state taxes, and you can donate if you donate $100 to the scholarship tax fund, you get a $75 tax credit. And so millions and millions and millions of dollars have gone to provide tuition relief to hundreds of families in all the schools in Chicago, and it's made a huge impact, both in providing more revenue for the schools as well as relieving the tuition burden on many families. And those are some of the major highlights. And then we can't forget the last 6 months, where the Agudah was instrumental in allowing us to be able to open for the last 5 weeks of school in June and July. As a matter of fact, it was officially an Agudah program in the beginning, and the school was just a working with the Agudah on it. And then as well as their constant guidance during this period as to how to reopen school safely, and advocating for us with the city and the state to make the rules possible for our children and staff to live with.
So it's impacted your school and the schools in Chicago in such a tremendous way. It's the financials, it's the food, it's the busing. These things that just also make life easier. Like you'll hear in many communities, they don't have the busing. In New York right now, we're nervous because of the busing right now in New York City. There's some question about if it's going to start. Everyone's going nuts. Oh, carpooling or paying for it. These are things that are really impact not just financials, but the day-to-day life living of the people. And it's
some people say, you use the word easier. It does make life easier. It makes life livable. It's not that it's easier. If there wouldn't be busing in some cities, you would not be able to live there. I think about it in Lakewood sometimes. What would happen if the LSTA wouldn't have been created by us? It's a pachat. How are they going to do it? So I'm sure the same thing applies to Chicago.
Absolutely.
Other cities that don't have busing, that's how their community was built. It was built with an infrastructure of not having busing. So that's how they function. But when you function with busing, that's your whole way of life. To lose it, it's not just a nice thing to have.
Avi, I think you use an argument saying it's a matter of safety to have busing, because otherwise you put another 1,000 cars in Lakewood on those congested streets, it's dangerous. And that was a major argument that kept busing going.
Sure, kids can't walk to school. There's no sidewalks in many blocks. It's dangerous. You have little kids, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the morning, standing outside. It's absolutely impossible.
100%.
So these are some of the things that Agudah saw in Chicago, and of course we have to mention Rabbi Yitzchak Ehrman, the CEO, for his unbelievable. I speak to him sometimes, like at 2 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the morning. He is up, he is rolling, he's leaving messages. I'm sleeping.
Ehrman does not
but
sleep.
He doesn't sleep.
Never.
And you have Rabbi Shlomo Soroka, who is incredible, who's also relatively new. A few years in, he hit the ground running, and boom, scholarships. Unbelievable.
Amazing.
Of course, Rabbi Yaakov Robinson,
the
head of the Midwest Rabbanim, Executive Director of Midwest Rabbanim, who's done such a fabulous job. All of them, just a wonderful, wonderful place.
So, Rabbi Becker, now that Pinchas is coming to our side of town, the
Sure.
East Coast, what do you see? As the Executive Director, what is your vision for that division and the place he's going to play in probably one of the most important and vital divisions of our organization, Yeshiva Services?
Well, first I would say he's building on the shoulders of giants. There has been a Yeshiva Service division which has done unbelievable work. Mrs. Deborah Zakai, Rabbi Ami Bazov have done work for years in this area. Mrs. Zakai will be retiring, and Rabbi Pinchas will be assuming her position. And he has so much to go. When the Yeshiva Services division started, there were about 50 yeshivas in the network. There are now more than 400 yeshivas. And every one is an olam mali by itself and needs to be spoken to, what their needs are. Rabbi Pinchas is going to have a lot of work ahead of him. He's going to be talking to every yeshiva, finding out what they need, and then developing policies to help every last yeshiva. And in addition, as we all know, as some of the other speakers have spoken tonight, we're moving into a brave new world.
Yes.
And things are going to be very different. And Rabbi Pinchas is going to be using all of his genius to make things happen, to be able to help the yeshivas. As was mentioned before, I spoke to several yeshivas as part of our charity campaign, and everyone gave me a speech about how much they need Agudah Yisrael and what Agudah Yisrael means to them. Rabbi Pinchas is going to be doing a fabulous job. We have high hopes for him. I've had the schus already of working with him a little bit, and the future is very bright, and he'll get a lot of things done, and the yeshivas are going to be very happy.
Right, Pinkus.
Yes.
What are your
This is
thoughts?
your last chance to back out. Well, Baruch Hashem, I think we're going to wrap up the evening.
But you know, now that you're coming, what fresh ideas from what you've obviously worked with Agudah both locally, from the EDN and many other places. What are your thoughts moving forward? What's your vision for this division?
So number one is I have to learn about the yeshivas and about the Yeshiva Services Division, about the programs they provide, and about the unique requirements and opportunities that are in New York State. This is a very state-specific job. Every state has its own regulations, grants, laws, funding, and it's going to take me some time to learn all that and then be able to understand it and be able to help to advise the yeshivas. Beyond that, the answer is to what I want to do. The question is really what the yeshivas want. After spending 9 years in a yeshiva, I understand there's many things that can be provided, many services that would help yeshivas function much better, many services that help me grow in my position and grow the yeshiva.
Incredible.
And the capabilities, and I'm going to, Bezos Hashem, get out there, talk to the yeshivas, visit them, become familiar with the yeshivas and with their with the yeshivas administration, and then do a lot of listening as to what kind of services would help to improve the yeshivas. Then we'll take that back to the Agudah and the Yeshiva Services Department, and we'll use that to help develop a lot of our ideas.
And we'll all be there to support Rabbi Pinkus and help him grow. And that's all the regional directors and all of everybody on staff is just going to be rooting for him.
Rabbi Becker, thank you very much for joining us. It was a schus. Rabbi Pinkus, Hatzlacha Rabba.
Thank you.
Yo, good luck. On a serious note, the taka is challenging. The taka sounds challenging, but as a fellow Agudah employee, I can tell you there's no other place that I would rather be than Agudah Yisrael, and it's fulfilling. It's really for you go home at night and you're able to say that for the past 10 hours I sat in an office, even if it's a closet, and my day was dedicated to helping the Tzibur. So Ashrecha and Ashreinu, and we will continue to give these reports.
And we'll be right
Thank
back
you so
right
much.
after these, this short break. Hold on tight and we'll be back in a few minutes.
Okay, and as we close up the evening, what a night!
Wow, Avi.
What a night! Baruch Hashem.
More than 3 hours. So much information. You know what? That was just a glimpse, a teeny glimpse into the world of Agudah, the impact. Unfortunately, Edi Matzon wasn't able to make it on. And if we could have interviewed the regional directors, the division of division, we could have sat here for hours. And I think, you know what, Avi? I have an idea.
That's not good.
We're at a little bit over $2.5 million, or maybe 2.6. I have an idea. Let's just stay here until we get to 5. What do you think about that?
I agree. You should stay here. You should stay here until we get to 6.
I'm the co-host, Avi. You got to really join.
Get to 6. But remember, this is the final push that we're going to do for the evening. Tomorrow till 10 o'clock p.m. Don't procrastinate. Don't hesitate. Donate. At Charidy, you like that, huh? Yeah. Pretty good. Charidy.com/Agudah. Charidy.com/Agudah. If you're looking and you're watching and you're viewing this program from Chicago, look for your Chicago page. You're from Miami, look for your Florida page. California, Colorado, Maryland,
New Jersey, look for your New Jersey
page. Charidy.com/Agudah/NJ. If you're from Colorado, I'm going to make sure Ohio, all the different regions. If wherever you're watching from, look for your page. Chaim Aruchim has a page up there. Torah Communications has a page up there. Every member of Klal Yisrael has been impacted and continues to be impacted due to the efforts of Agudah Yisrael.
And if you gave already, Chazor is a good idea. You can come back again. It's a new day. It'll be a new start. It'll be 12 o'clock soon. You can recheck it over, come back in, join, put your dollar in. Every dollar you give is matched, and its value is times 10.
Excellent. Thank you all for joining us. Have a great night. And we will, Emet Hashem, continue to be able to have Siyata D'Shmaya to continue to do our vital Avodas HaKodesh. Thank you for watching.